Good morning, pop culture. We are live. It is Monday, December 10th, 2018. It's 7:46 a.m., and it's time to start Good Morning Pop Culture. So, folks, I'm back. It's been a weird weekend, been a little tired, been a little out of it, but I'm happy to be back. I'm happy to talk about all kinds of interesting pop culture related tidbits, all kinds of interesting pop culture related theories, and all kinds of pop culture related fun. So let's get today's show started off with a little bit of housekeeping news. So 2 weeks from today is Christmas Eve, the 24th of December, and that will be our last show for the year. So we will have 2 weeks of regular, uninterrupted Good Morning Pop Culture fun, and then maybe a show on Christmas Eve morning. Depends on, what the audience might be like. And then we're off. You may see some videos pop up. If any breaking news happens, of course, I'll be here to cover it. But the 24th is the last day that this show will be, regularly airing, because the next day is Christmas. The day after that, I got plans. And then 2 days after that, I'm going to Michigan. So I won't be able to have a show. So just a little bit of housekeeping news for those out there who are wondering what the Christmas schedule is going to be like. Speaking of schedules, this Friday night, we're doing something really, really fun. So I've been playing this Spider-Man game. I've been hearing all about people saying, oh, the newest movie's the greatest and all this other dog shit. So you know what I decided to do? This Friday night, we're going to have a live commentary hangout of the original 2 Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi ones, the good Spider-Man films. So that'll start on Friday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then right after the first Spider-Man movie, we're going to start talking about Spider-Man 2. And guess what? I'm going to need some help. So patrons, if you're out there, I'm going to be waiting for you to contact me this week. And if you're a Spider-Man expert, I'm not looking for somebody that saw the movie once and played the video game for a couple hours. I'm looking for people that know the character, that love the character. I got to say, after the excellent Star Wars live stream where everyone brought their A game, from Rugis on down to everybody else, the bar has been set pretty high. So if you like Spider-Man and have a good amount of knowledge about the character, please contact me over on Patreon and join us for our Spider-Man 1 and 2 commentary. Kendo will be on for number 2. I don't know if Nick's going to be available for part 1, but I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be here to discuss my favorite superhero movie, and how they're treating the old webhead in modern society. I'm not too happy about it. But that is what's going to be happening on Friday night. So if you're excited for that, awesome. Let me know. Press 1 in the chat. We're not doing part 3 because I don't really have the energy or the time to do number 3 late into Saturday morning. So there won't be a commentary for part 3. You'll have to wait. Maybe we'll do a director's cut commentary for part 3, or maybe down the road, it'll give us an excuse to do all 3 Spider-Man films in one afternoon, in one sitting, and we can have a lot of fun. But this is really the only time that we'll have on the channel for it for the rest of the year. And while the Spider-Man hype is high, and while my favorite character is being bastardized, I figure let's talk about it on a grand scale. So if you have the movie, you can watch it with us. We'll have a timestamp on the screen. I'll be talking about my interactions with the character, my first viewings of the movie, how I feel about the movie. See, it's one of those films, a lot like Star Wars, where I distinctly remember everything about my first viewing experience and everything that came with subsequent viewings, and how the first Spider-Man movie really brought you this show today and got us on the path that we're on. So be prepared to hear some deep dives about Spider-Man, about my life, about this show, about this channel. So, God damn it, Streamlabs. You know what? You're blocked. So hide user on this channel. So I tried to do Streamlabs to try to get it set up right, and damn it, Streamlabs, you know what? I just got to turn off the bots. No more Streamlab bots. Logan Michael has the first super chat of the day, so thank you very much, Logan Michael. You get an award. When I get Streamlabs up, I'll have like a bell or something, whoever wins. So Logan Michael says, do you think Mezco was better in the late 2000s? No, because Mezco wasn't even on my radar back then. They were always kind of doing niche stuff where, now for those out there that are wondering, what's Mezco? Mezco is a toy producer. They do action figures. Right now, they have a really great series of toys called the 112 Collective, where they'll do 6-inch scale action figures with real clothing, better sculpts, details, lights. They're $80 a figure, but you get what you pay for. Your basic Hasbro figures are $20, Mezco are $80, but I honestly feel like you get 4 times the quality. I got Michael Myers on my shelf right now, and it's the best Michael Myers figure I've ever seen. So if you're a toy collector, or if you're looking to give yourself something nice for Christmas, give yourself a Mezco 112 collective toy. That's not sponsored by the show. Maybe one day. I feel like we'd be perfect to have Hasbro and Mezco and McFarlane and all these places sponsor us because we know our shit. We like their shit, and I'd like to talk about it. Am I going to be talking about Godzilla trailer when it drops? If it drops during the show, I'll make you a guarantee. If it drops during the show and enough people can get my attention for it, or if anybody can get my attention for it, I'll do a live reaction here on the show. I like Godzilla a lot. I have a lot to say about the character. So, yeah, if Godzilla information pops up during the show, any big trailer ever drops during our show, I will gladly cover it. So now once we get to our 200 viewers, which we are getting there rather quickly, we will start talking about the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Now, I have not seen the trailer, but it has been released publicly, and a very reputable source has reported on it. So we're going to talk about that here. I've done a little research because they changed up Mysterio for this new film. And so for research for today's show, what did I do? I went back and I read Amazing Spider-Man. I believe the issue was number 13, the first appearance of Mysterio. And so I've been reading up on Mysterio, getting ready. Mysterio is not one of my favorite villains, but he's a villain I've always liked. I think he's one of the better classic Spider-Man villains. Hell no, is that true? I like him more than the Lizard, but I also love the dichotomy between the Lizard and Kurt Connors and his family and all that stuff. So there's a lot. I have a lot to say about Spider-Man. I'm just glad a lot of people give a shit about it. I don't like Godzuki, no, but I did used to watch that cartoon. It was on Cartoon Network mid to late afternoons in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm not going to sing the song, Godzilla. There you go, I did it. So, I'm saying I do like Mysterio. I like Mysterio, the comic book character, more than Rey Mysterio, the wrestler, because I'm not a fan of Rey Mysterio, the wrestler. Chris Wicks, thank you very much for your super chat. Sup, Jeff, have you been to the P.O. Box lately? I have not. My weekend was a little different than I had planned. So my mom's boyfriend was working on my car, so she had to go out there in the afternoon. So my mom and I have this tradition. On the weekends, she'll take me to breakfast one day, and I'll take her on the other. So we went to Bob Evans on Saturday, and by the time we did that and a couple of things, she had to take my car, and it was like 12:42, and the P.O. Box closes at 1, and I wasn't able to make it. And then obviously the post office is closed on Sundays. So I'm going to go. I'm going to make sure my ass gets up there today so I can get a Tales from the P.O. Box ready. And if there's a lot of stuff, I'll ask you guys what to vote on, and we may have it on Christmas or we may have it on the actual video itself. Because I'm going to be honest, the video really doesn't get too many views, but I have fun doing it. So Tales from the P.O. Box will always be a thing. I just want to know if people would rather watch it live, like, feel my excitement, or if they would rather, see it in video form. Either way, it's going to be there, and we're still going to have those awesome title cards. Thanos EVS, thank you very much. Hello, you have been visited by Thanos EVS. Well, thank God that you didn't snap your fingers and I disappeared. Maybe you snapped your fingers and everyone else disappeared. That's where the final 6 viewers are, so we can start today's show. But thank you, Thanos EVS. And for those out there, I recently rewatched Infinity War post Endgame trailer, and my opinion on the trailer has definitely changed about 20 to 30%. I actually felt a little bit of excitement when I watched the trailer again. I'm working on a big video coming out probably tomorrow. I've written it, or I'm writing it right now. It's going to take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth the wait. It talks about the success of Avengers, the failure of Captain Marvel, and it's not exactly what you think. So make sure you watch that video tomorrow when it goes live. I will give you guys plenty of time. We may even do a premiere. We'll be talking about it because it's one of our classic videos. The ones where I write 7 to 10 pages of text, record it, and do all that fun stuff. I got a bunch of those I've been working on. I want to get back to that. I miss the excitement of the videos. Thanos EVS, if you'd like pie, we bought 2 Frisch's pumpkin pies. They're downstairs. I can offer up 50% of them to you because I know EVS loves his pie, but damn, I really, really like pumpkin pie myself. The infinity pies. So we need 2 more people, 3 more people, and we'll start today's show. 2 more. Come on. Come on. I feel like I'm Woody Harrelson in Zombieland. Come on, help me with the boots. And then Emma Stone just leaves him, and he does it himself. Yeah, okay, there we go. We're finally past 200 viewers. So let's start today's main topic. Now, this is not rumor. This is not speculation. This is straight up factual information from IGN. The Spider-Man Far From Home trailer has been released to a crowd in Brazil, and these are pieces of information that have come from said trailer. So let me read this, and then we'll start talking about this Spider-Man situation. So Spider-Man and Mysterio fight together as allies against Hydro Man in the first trailer for Spider-Man Far From Home. While the trailer wasn't released online following Sony's panel at Brazil's Comic-Con in Sao Paulo, IGN Brazil was there to watch it and provided this breakdown of what happens in it. Tom Holland and Jake Gyllenhaal also surprised fans with an appearance from the Far From Home panel. They were not expected to attend, but they showed up to help present the first trailer for the upcoming Sony Marvel movie. Filming was not allowed in the convention hall, and there was no date yet as for the trailer to be released online. So our rundown below will have to hold you over until the trailer drops. The trailer begins with Peter Parker, Aunt May, and Happy Hogan, who tries to flirt with Aunt May. Peter Parker is going on a school trip to Europe with Michelle/MJ, Ned, and while packing his clothes, he leaves his Spider-Man suit at home. His objective is to go overseas and take a brief rest from his life as a superhero. The group goes to Venice, Italy, sees the canals, and then some sort of budding romance happens between Peter and Michelle. Soon after that, we see Peter in a hotel room with Ned when a mysterious person suddenly appears and shoots a tranquilizer dart at Ned. It's Nick Fury, who is calling on Spider-Man for a mission. Several new uniforms are presented, like the stealth suit similar to the noir suit and the classic uniform with the webs under the arms. At the end of the trailer, Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio makes an appearance to help Spider-Man against the new enemy, Hydro Man, in a breathtaking sequence. Yes, it looks like Spider-Man and Mysterio are going to fight together in this movie. The sequence sees Hydro Man emerge from the Venice water and attack the Italian city in a sequence full of explosions, screams, and chaos. Spider-Man starts to fight him, gets in a little trouble, and that's when Mysterio appears to help him at the end of the trailer. It should be noted that this trailer, at least, Mysterio wears his armor, but not his distinctive fishbowl helmet. He also appears to work in some capacity with Nick Fury. There is also no mention of the events of Avengers Infinity War in the trailer. Spider-Man Far From Home panel began on a funny note with Jacob Batalon addressing the audience. He then received a call from Tom Holland, who told him he was in Brazil, and then proceeded to essentially break into the panel. Holland, Gyllenhaal, and Batalon went on to discuss the film for the huge audience of fans. So that is your first look at the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. Chris Wicks, thank you again for your super chat. I spoke, I super chat, I kissed your ass. Good night. Oh my God. I love that. What a great way to start the day. So that is what IGN has told you. Now, let me break it down and try to pick up a few things that I picked out from this. So first off, Nick Fury, who's calling for Spider-Man on a mission. So it looks like Avengers Endgame is going to be a status quo reset button for the MCU. I really did love, and I don't mean just love the whole twist of S.H.I.E.L.D. being infiltrated in Captain America the Winter Soldier. Dion and I saw that movie in New Orleans in 2014. We were on our WrestleMania 30 trip. And while WrestleMania was epic, we loved Bourbon Street. Captain America is the thing we still hold on to as the biggest moment of that trip for us because, again, Dion and myself on this show at least are lifelong comic book fans. We've cared about this stuff since Nick Fury was just David Hasselhoff on TV, or even before that, when the chameleon took his identity and put the eye patch on the wrong eye in that episode of Spider-Man, the animated series. So it was always exciting for us to see these big things play out on screen, these twists, these turns, these differences from the books, as well as these reimaginings or these just straight up adaptations from the book. Certain things work, certain things don't. Captain America and the S.H.I.E.L.D. Debacle definitely worked. I guess it's all for not now. The first wave of the MCU. Now, this is just my take on it. This isn't anybody else's opinion. This isn't anything out there besides what I'm taking from this information right now. But from what I'm taking from this is that a lot of the big events just don't matter anymore. Nick Fury's back. He's in control. Now you'll say, Jeff, what about Avengers Age of Ultron, when Nick Fury came up for a mission with, or was talking to Captain America and, no, he was talking to Iron Man in the shed of Hawkeye and all that stuff. Well, that's a very valid point. But I also think with Captain Marvel and all these, basically, I think the world's going to know what happened. And I think we're going to see them through time travel back through to the Battle of New York from the first Avengers. Therefore, certain things will get negated and wiped out. So that's what I'm thinking is going to happen from this. But Nick Fury tasking Spider-Man, it's happened before. I don't really love it. I don't really like how Spider-Man is essentially an arm of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they take away what makes the character Spider-Man, what makes him my favorite character, what makes him the character that has stood the test of time for, 56 years now at this point. Spider-Man has always been a solo guy, a broke guy. He has technology to a degree that he makes himself. He's very smart, he's resourceful, but he's not rich. He's not an international web slinger. For those who want to say, well, Jeff, he went to Europe in Spider-Man number 95, I'll say, great recall. Congratulations. That is very true. But he went to London to chase after his girlfriend, whose dad had died, and she left the country. He wasn't on this international mission. He just so happened to run into stuff. Much like when he went off to the Savage Land, Spider-Man didn't go to the Savage Land to fight crime. He went there with J. Jonah Jameson and Gwen Stacy to take photos, and then shit happened. So Spider-Man has left the country. That is very true, but under different guises. Now, I'm okay with the kid going to Europe and all that stuff. Believe me, I went to Europe for a high school trip. That kind of stuff happens. I don't really love the idea of Spider-Man having multiple suits presented to him. You know, one of my favorite moments came from about 1980 when he sits there and sews his own costume and like poses. He goes, the web pits are back. From the front, you can't see them. From the side, you can. And he makes all these weird poses. Just little moments like that. The MCU Spider-Man has definitely taken away the self-reliant nature of Spider-Man. You know, in the first movie, they make a really great point when Norman Osborn's offering Peter a job, and he goes, you know, I like to keep what I make or something. And he goes, you want to make it under your own steam? I respect that. Don't worry. When we get to Friday night, I'll be going into more deep dives about why this movie just works so well. And the second one is just 10 times better. So I'll keep that to a minimum. But I feel like it's in relation to this trailer. The stealth suit, Spider-Man Noir is a different universe. So I wish people would get that through their head. I don't dislike Spider-Man Noir. I loved the elements in that Spider-Man Shattered Dimensions game. I'm not a fan of crossing different universes and stuff like that. I would be kind of pissed off if all of a sudden he wore a Ben Reilly style suit. I didn't really love his first suit, how it looked like the original Scarlet Spider, but by that same accord, I can understand it because he's a broke kid trying to make a costume. But that's neither here nor there. Mysterio being a good guy, I think it's all a twist. Now, you know what I would love about this movie is if they had the balls to do all of this dumb stuff, all these crazy things, all these twists, and at the end of it, you realize it's just one big Mysterio vision. Because there are so many great Spider-Man stories, and they don't happen regularly. Say they would happen every 5 years, where Spider-Man would go off on this adventure, all this crazy shit would happen, somebody you think he loves dies, and then it was just Mysterio. And then the next issue is like the resolution. They only pulled that every 5 years or so, but it was awesome. Yeah, it comes to mind the story, was it like it would be like Spider-Man number 67 and 68, where Spider-Man's in an amusement park, and it's like, oh man, all this crazy shit's happening. And then this giant Mysterio appears. Now, the whole time you had thought Spider-Man shrunk down. How did he get hit by a shrink ray? This, that, and the other. And it turns out it was a big Mysterio plot twist. There are all these elements they could play around with. I hope that Spider-Man Far From Home is not necessarily just a continuation of Homecoming. I almost hope it veers off because I don't like the world they set up Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'm okay with Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I'll never like him more than Tobey Maguire's first two appearances. But I put it like this. Tom Holland is like George Lazenby for me in the James Bond films. I like Connery more, but I'm very cool with George Lazenby in that movie. So I hate Andrew Garfield, but I'm okay with Tom Holland. But, That's my opinion, and everyone else has a different opinion out there. So the last thing I want to talk about in terms of this information before we start talking about what you guys think is Hydro Man. Now, Hydro Man has never been seen on film. We had the Sandman in Spider-Man 3 to varying degrees of success. I actually think Sandman could have been a great villain had they not introduced Venom, had they kept Sandman as a pawn for maybe the Green Goblin. You don't know, but maybe he just is his own thing and he gets defeated early on in the film. Because Sandman's story was very... the fuck? Sandman's story arc was very true to his comics thing. He's just a thug who comes out of nowhere and does stuff and fights. And, you know, he has a daughter. They add some depth. I like that. I dug it. But Hydro Man, like most of you, my first exposure to Hydro Man was the cartoon back in 94. Well, whatever season he appeared in. It may have been the first season. Maury Bench. Hydro Man's always been kind of a shit villain. But with today's technology, we may see something really cool, some big, great spectacle. Now, I'm hoping they finally do what I've always wanted in a Spider-Man movie, is they have a villain that they kind of had it in Homecoming with the Shocker, where he's not the main villain. He just kind of gets vanquished mid-film, and then the main villain kind of comes into play. Because if any character out there can have multiple villains per film, it's Spider-Man. You think, well, Batman did it with Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, The Dark Knight, this, that, and the other. Yes, to varying degrees of success. I don't like Batman Returns. By the way, Batman Returns can now be classified as a Christmas movie if you can classify Lethal Weapon and Die Hard. Just putting that out there. But the Catwoman thing and the Penguin thing, I have varying different takes on that movie. I like the Riddler and Two-Face. I don't like Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy. And the Joker and Harvey Dent work in The Dark Knight. Spider-Man has all kinds of great villains. You know, I recently completed the video game, and they had fantastic fights where they would team up. They have the Sinister Six in quotations because instead of Kraven the Hunter, you had Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, who they did a great job with. Now, he's an established character in the Marvel Comics universe. I had liked him. I was happy with his story. They did change the Spider-Man mythos quite a bit. Not in love with everything they did, but for the last 10 years, it is the most accurate, faithful Spider-Man product. And it's kind of refreshing that we got something that pays reference to the classics as well as trying to update. Like, I'm not in love with Mary Jane, but I do like what they're doing with the Black Cat. But back to this Hydro Man thing. We've never seen him before. I'm interested. They won't be able to do the whole I used to date Mary Jane thing because a teenage villain with those kind of powers is stupid. So he'll be his own villain, his own thing. I hope he's there for a good reason. I hope Hydro Man isn't just a Mysterio vision. Well, wait, hold on. What if he is the Mysterio vision and it is a ploy for Mysterio to steal something from, I don't know, how close is Venice to the Vatican City? Something from the Vatican, something really rare and expensive, some art, something. That could be the twist. That could be cool. Who knows? Maybe we discovered the twist here on World Class Bullshitters. I don't know. But let's hear what you guys have to say about Spider-Man Far From Home. As you guys know, clearly, I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. It's my favorite, or he's my favorite comic book character. No matter how shitty some of the things get, I will always go back to Spider-Man media that I've loved and, get a sense of excitement. So let's see. Chewbacca fan 082 the Virgin. Thank you very much. This movie needs more Spidey Gwen in it. Ugh. Spider Gwen, I'm not a fan. I don't like alternate universe stuff. I'm not going to watch Into the Spider-Verse at all. There's no need for me to watch it. I'm not a kid. And one thing too, you talk about animation. I think the animation looks like shit. And when you compare it to the PlayStation 4 game, it looks realistic and kind of creepy how good it looks at times. Like, in many ways, they've circumvented the uncanny valley. I like realistic graphics, but there's always that weird disconnect. Spider-Man does a good job of looking realistic, but not looking too realistic that it makes me uncomfortable, if that makes sense. So if the movie has Spider-Gwen in this, great. So Alpha Terranima, thank you very, very much. Avengers Endgame ending reveals that it was all a Mysterio illusion. Post-credit sequence reveals that it was also a Tide ad. I love those commercials. Quick side detour. One of the weirdest commercials. You know what? No, I can't show it here. Put it like this. Let me tell you a quick story. Dan and I go to see a movie, and you know how they run commercials before the trailers. Well, we're watching, commercials for Coca-Cola, this and that. And then all of a sudden, this like dad and his daughter are playing, and this and that. And then she grows up and she's playing soccer. She's in high school. She gets married. The dad cries. They're on a boat. And then it just says Windex. And I look at Dan, and Dan looks at me, and we go, what the hell was that? That was a story, a commercial that blew my mind for how little relevance it had to the actual product. I don't even think they showed Windex once in the ad. They tried to sell you Windex as a lifestyles thing. And I thought to myself, no, thank you. I use Windex when I need to, but Windex doesn't bring my mom and I together. Windex is not this thing that my family is built upon. The best Windex ads were the ones where the birds flew into the glass because they were so clean. That's it. So I know that's a really random thing to say, but when you said it's also a Tide ad, it made me think of that Windex ad, and I about lost my shit. So let's see what you guys are saying about Spider-Man Homecoming, though. Or they have Hydra Man, though. Let's Last Dance with Mary Jane. Do I think the big time suit is a better stealth suit? I'm not really the most exciting person to talk about my preference in Spider-Man suits. I like the original, and then I like the black suit, and then I really did dig the Future Foundation costume. That's about as far as I'll go. Like Superman, I like the classic look with the belt and the trunks, and it breaks up the suit. It makes his chest look bigger. I don't like when they try to make Superman look too young. I don't like when they make Superman look too lean. He's a big, bulky, 30-plus guy, an alien. He comes from another planet, a little different. He grew up on in old school Kansas. Maybe they, liked old school stuff. So that's how I feel. But now Batman, on the other hand, I'm open to many reinterpretations of his suit. Logan Michael, thank you very much. I hope Thanos' car shows up in Endgame. I mean, the Thanos copter? I would love to see the Thanos copter roll up. I would laugh my ass off if they made a couple jokes about, the Thanos copter. Well, Deadpool would. What if when they go into the quantum realm, Deadpool appears in the movie? Would that ruin it for you, or would you laugh? I don't know how I would feel about that. The Pui, thank you very much. Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, the Pui. It's nice to see you here every day, my friend. Hope everyone out there who's working and lurking is having an all right day so far. It is Monday, but we're getting closer to Christmas. And, people got time off. People got responsibilities. People got all kinds of stuff they got to do this time of year. But I hope you're having a good day right now listening to Good Morning Pop Culture, because I'm excited to be back. Friday, I was dead tired, and I thought the show was eh. But it's funny, the day the show was from my end, it gets the most views of any show in a month. So it just goes to show you, always be on your game, or else, you'll get an Avengers Endgame episode where you slept for 4 hours, you try to play Smash Brothers after the show, and you can't move your hands, so you're just like, I lost. By the way, we had our Super Smash Brothers tournament over the weekend. Nobody really watched, but it was fun. I won, so that was the best part of it. Now, I haven't heard about Happy and Aunt May's love. You know what? If Happy Hogan can pull down Aunt May, good for the movie. Aunt May is not forever a widow. In the comic books, was it 2008, 2009, she starts dating J. Jonah Jameson's dad. And they get married. And it's Peter Parker and J. Jonah Jameson become stepbrothers. And it's a really weird plot twist, but it works. I'm okay with Aunt May marrying Happy Hogan. Not marrying Happy Hogan, but, what happened to the power? Oh, shit. She also dated Jarvis. Oh, crap. So, I don't know what just happened. So, weird show note, I think we blew a fuse directly from my office. So, the power's in other parts of the room, but not where the computer and other things are. So, the show's going to have to be a little shorter this morning. So, sorry, folks. Wow, that was weird. I was in the middle of making a coffee and everything just shut down. God damn it, I got to go to the basement. Oh, well, the show must go on. So, let's keep talking about that. Oh, by the way, in the new Spider-Verse movie, Doc Ock's a woman. So there you go. If you want something to be pissed off about, be pissed off about that. So let's talk about something else to move this show forward. So we usually cover box office stuff on the weekends or on Mondays because, you know, the weekends come. We got to see what the biggest movies are, if we can make fun of them, if we're going to see them. You know, it's just part of what we do here on World Class Bullshitters. Well, let's talk about the biggest box office news, surprising box office news in quite a while, Aquaman. Box office record. Aquaman swims to record $94 million bow in China. The superhero pick will dive into North American theaters on December 21st, 2018. So James Wan's Aquaman made a giant splash in China 2 weeks ahead of the U.S. launch, grossing $93.6 million to land the top opening ever box office for a DC comic book adaptation. That's kind of weird, to land the top opening ever for a DC comic book adaptation. I didn't like how that was written. Aquaman, starring Jason Momoa, is also the biggest star ever in China for a Warner Brothers title, besting Ready Player One by 66%. Among Warner Brothers DC movies, Aquaman launched 90% ahead of Justice League and 78% ahead of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, plus it already had exceeded the entire lifetime gross of Wonder Woman in that country. Now, don't worry. Pay attention to that Wonder Woman thing. We're going to be talking about a parallel in a moment. Aquaman also delivered the biggest industry opening for China in the month of December, commanding 85% of the market share. IMAX sites in the Middle Kingdom turned in a mighty $9.7 million. Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, and Dolph Lundgren co-star in the tentpole film, which follows on the heels of Sony's Venom, which has earned a stunning $268 million in China to date, a global total north of $850 million. Warner Brothers decided to unfurl Aquaman first in China, followed by additional foreign markets next week in order to get the jump on a crowded pack of year-end holiday films, including Mary Poppins and Transformers. So I'm not showing this to say, ha, fuck Marvel and all this stuff. I wanted to show this because of a changing trend that I see coming. So if we pay attention to this, we see that Aquaman is now the number one DC movie thing in China. We also saw, sorry, this lack of power is really pissing me off. So if I seem kind of out of it, I'm out of it. Fuck. Because now my space heater is off and it's cold. Back to the show. With this movie coming out, in China being such a big hit, and Venom coming out and being such a hit, I don't think Marvel is in danger of losing too much, according to like what Chinese markets like. But I think there's a changing tide because Wonder Woman had limited appeal. Captain Marvel may have that same limited appeal. I feel like they're going to market Captain Marvel similarly to Wonder Woman across the world. And in the Chinese market, that doesn't work. Now people are going to say, well, it's Marvel. It's going to make all that money. Branding does not matter in China as much as you would think because Aquaman in one weekend more than doubled what it made. Aquaman in its opening weekend in China doubled what Star Wars The Last Jedi made its entire lifespan. So Star Wars The Last Jedi opened to $28 million in China. The following weekend, it dropped 91.3% to 2 million. Then it dropped to 867,000, then 100,000, then 53,000. So it stayed in theaters for less than a month in China, and it had giant drops, record drops that had never been seen before. So after we have that debacle, Avengers does make a bunch of money. Black Panther, what did Black Panther do in China? Let's see here for a minute. So Black Panther... Well, let's see. Black Panther, what did it make? Foreign. Okay. So Black Panther in China made $65 million opening weekend for a total of $100 million in China as of 4/8/18. So Aquaman is only, $10 million shy of beating Black Panther's entire lifetime gross. So there's something to be said about this style of film. A few short years ago, everyone was focused on the Chinese box office, so they would introduce new characters based on Chinese, famous Chinese actors, famous Chinese brands. It came off as disingenuous. It's bizarre that certain fantasy elements are kind of hitting with China almost accidentally. I don't think they expected Venom to be such a big hit worldwide, especially in China. And I don't think they expected Aquaman to be such a big hit, especially in China. I think what it boils down to is instead of preaching to the Chinese audience, they just kind of coincidentally fall in line with things that they appreciate or things that don't really clash with their culture. You know, underwater this and that. Everything has an underwater version. The city of Atlantis is just a famous story, you know, a legend, a myth that kind of can be reached worldwide. So I think something like Aquaman works for that reason alone. I don't think it's because of, well, it could also be because Jason Momoa and Amber Heard are considered beautiful people. And we heard about, you know, the people of Star Wars last year. They were made fun of for being ugly, according to some Chinese viewers. And we covered that on the channel last year. But that's neither here nor there. But this Aquaman thing is interesting. I don't think Captain Marvel is going to make as much as Aquaman in China. We can find out. Quote me on 12/10 of 2018. I say Aquaman will do better than Captain Marvel in China. Avengers will, you know, blow it out of the water because it's the Avengers. But I do think Aquaman's going to be a surprise hit in China. Well, it already is, and the rest of the world. I think a lot of people are going to be receptive to Aquaman, and cool. Because competition creates the best product out of any company. So if DC can kind of come up from behind, when Marvel's trying to move into this new era, they're not really focused on, you know, the new heroes. They're focused on the new narrative. They're focused on, well, now we have our first female-led, female co-directed, female-written superhero movie. And then we already had our first black-led, black-directed. Now we're going to have our first Asian-directed, blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, first off, Warner Brothers beat you to the punch. James Wan directed Aquaman. Not really a big deal that he's Asian. He's just a great director. And secondly, we had Wonder Woman beat you to the first female superhero, and Elektra beat you to the first female Marvel hero. So you get to that Marvel where all they're doing is trying to bank on the narrative around their movies and not so much the novelty of the actual films. So 2019 could be a real changing of the guard. I'm not going to say that Shazam and Aquaman and Wonder Woman 1984, if that's still coming out in 2019, are going to beat the Marvel movies in the US, but I think they're going to do better in certain international territories, and they're going to start the wheels turning for like a change that we're going to see in the upcoming years in terms of superhero films. So let's see what you guys think right now. Okay, so really nothing's popped up. Okay, so Aquaman, yeah. So let's see where else we're going to talk about. We're going to eventually talk about Doctor Who. Yeah, let's talk about Doctor Who right now. Fuck it. So Doctor Who, wait, hold on. Grendel-fan84, thank you very much. Still worried. The Transformers movies were huge in China, but not well received here critically. It'd be nice to have a well-reviewed critical hit. Well, Transformers, was that Bumblebee or whatever it's called, is actually seeing, I think IGN gave it a fairly good score, and it could be like, it feels like a soft reboot of Transformers, even though it's technically a prequel to the first film. I think what Transformers 1 did well was it was different from what was coming out, and it was just an okay movie at best. Then you get to 2, 3, and 4, and they suck. I'm not going to act like they're decent. But what Transformers is doing right now is smart, because you can only play on nostalgia for so long, but Transformers, hear me out, is actually playing on nostalgia in a way that's never been played on in terms of the Transformers films. Because even though I'm not attached to Transformers the way most people are that love them, they looked like shit in the movies. They didn't look like their cartoon or comic book or toy counterparts. Now they do. Now you got people excited because they're hitting them on a level that they can't actually discuss why they like it, but it's like, Optimus Prime looks just like the cartoon. You see, now they're giving you what you want. Before, it was all about trying to be different or make its own way in the world, and they made their money. They did. But now people have woken up to Transformers and Transformers-itis. This one is going to be truer to form, especially in the designs, because even me, who doesn't really like Transformers that much, I actually considered getting that new Optimus Prime figure based on this film because it looks kind of cool. I wouldn't mind having one of those pop up under my Christmas tree, Santa Claus. And I'd actually open it up and Transformer, because Transformers are fun toys. But it would be nice to have a well-reviewed critical hit that's reviewed well on its film merit, not its agenda, what it's not trying to represent. Because I got a video coming out. We're going to be talking about Captain Marvel and how the film, good or bad, won't be talked or isn't being talked about on the quality of the trailer, this and that. It's always about what it represents, and it's being represented by lies. And I have facts and figures to discuss that. You'll be surprised. I have a really interesting article from Bleeding Cool that talks about how Captain Marvel is one of the lowest selling books, but why won't Marvel cut it? I mean, there are all these reasons, all these things that are happening, and we'll find out. We'll find out really, really soon. So that is really my take on Aquaman. I'm gonna see it eventually. It won't look it. Our podcast usually covers the big movies, for the show. Not this time. We're not covering Aquaman. We're not going to be covering Shazam. We're going to cover them, but we're not going to make episodes of the show dedicated, meaning we're going to go out, see them, come back, and review them. We'll all go out and see them in the following couple days. We'll put out a review, or I'll go out and see them the next day and give you a live review, and you can ask questions. How's that? Right after Good Morning Pop Culture, I'll pick up a ticket and go watch it. I figure that's a pretty good happy medium, especially with the holidays and the other guys trying to do that. It wouldn't just work right now. Randallfan84 also says, I agree with you on Bumblebee. Finally, after 10 years, I'm excited to see a Transformers movie because they look like the Transformers of my youth. Visual recognition is very important. I'm an artist. I I pay attention to the visuals. When I looked at the Spider-Man game that I so positively praise, when I first looked at it, I couldn't stop staring at the costume, the Spider-Man costume that I wasn't a fan of. I was like, that's not Spider-Man. I have no interest in it. Once I actually got to, and the game came out, and I didn't have any interest in buying it. Once I saw Dan play it with the original suit, I went, that's Spider-Man. This game has great mechanics. Now I can get into it. They went even so far to give you a comic book suit, which looks like looks like a cartoon, really, because it moves, and it's animated, and it looks fantastic, and I loved it. I dug it. I think people underestimate and they blow out of proportion when people criticize for a look. I mean, if it looks like it, it's it. Like, a lot of people still can't get over Daniel Craig as James Bond because he doesn't look like the prototypical James Bond. That's fine. So my mom hates his movies. That's not James Bond. I'm like, okay, Mom, that's fine. A lot of people say that in my family. My uncle, who's pretty cool with James Bond movies, like, I didn't see any of the Daniel Craig ones. I don't like him. Okay. When you don't look the part, people do have that problem. They want to act like, well, appearances don't matter, this, that, and the other, but psychologically they do. Look at Grendel-fan84. After 10 years, I'm finally excited to see a Transformers movie because they look like the Transformers of my youth. When they make the characters look like we all imagine them to, you're excited. I don't think Inspector Gadget got it right way back in 1999. He didn't look like the cartoon. I didn't buy into it. Other things that didn't look like they're supposed to, like Captain America looks great. He looks like versions of the comic book. Hell, even in the Captain America film, the first one, the first Avenger, they went out of their way to give him the classic suit. Even though it looked hokey, we got to see it. Marvel early on really knew that they couldn't disconnect too far from what the characters looked like. Hell, even now they really don't. Even if I'm being honest, Captain Marvel's suit looks like the comic book version. That's from 2012. So, I mean, they are adapting it accurately. I think the character that has the biggest differences and, bothers me the most is Spider-Man. They always want to change and add flourishes to something that don't need it. Say what you will about Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. The second suit looked good. I prefer the Tobey Maguire one based on the build of the actor, but they got the suit right for Andrew Garfield's second outing. The only thing I wasn't in love with these outer web shooters. Put them under the gloves and just leave it alone. I'm so tired of them over-engineering because people complain, oh, organic web shooters from the Raimi movies. Fine. Give him web shooters under his gloves and don't show him. You want the drama of him running out of webs? Fine. Have that. Just don't put him on the outside. But it's all about that visualization. J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movies, they tried to make sure that the costumes at least hit you on a certain level. Like, well, the suits look like the classic suits enough. They're not exactly the same, but they look like modernized versions. That's why Han Solo still wore a jacket and had a gun belt, because the visual really was important. Oh, I'm watching Star Wars. Again, that's why they put from certain angles of the film. That's why they show, the Millennium Falcon from the angle where where Luke was training with the lightsaber, or the angle where Princess Leia was with Luke and stuff like that. They make you the visualization hits you, and then you start to feel things, and that is what they're doing. So, Bumblebee, I'm not going to watch it. I don't really like Transformers, but the designs look right. They look great. And I hope that this movie sends a signal to people out there. Like, okay, perfect example, Power Rangers. Favorite show of my youth. I got into that shit hardcore. I could not get enough Power Rangers. As a kid, they changed the suits in the movie. I didn't like the movie. I was like, that doesn't look like the Power Rangers. So while I still watched the show, I owned the movie, rarely watched it. Wasn't into it. It didn't look like the Sentai costumes. That was just me. We get to the new 2017 film, it flopped. People didn't go because they didn't look like the Power Rangers. They looked like Iron Man. The suits were dumb. They were poorly represented. Now that Hasbro owns Power Rangers outright, because Saban sold it after that movie just was kind of I would bet that Hasbro, now owning Power Rangers, will take a page out of the Bumblebee movie, and they will make the Power Rangers movie that they inevitably make, based on Mighty Morphin again, because it's the one Americans loved. The other ones, yeah, you may like Ninja Force or Time Force or Jungle Force or whatever they're called, but they weren't big hits. They weren't cultural landmarks like the first one. They'll go back to that. You'll get the white diamonds and the white gloves and boots and the belt. You'll make these simplistic costumes, and you'll make tons of merchandise money off of that shit, because you'll get guys like me that go, oh man, it looks just like the Red Ranger. Shit. Well, okay, I'll get just a figure. And then once you get one, you got to get the whole set, because you got the team. You got to put their weapons together to fight the bad guys. Oh man, the Megazord looks just like the original one. Oh man, well, okay, I'll get the Zords. Oh shit, well, I gotta get the bad. And you can get a 30-year-old man to go, crap, I dropped $300 on a toy line for kids because it looks like something I liked. And that's where the magic lies with all of these brands. And that's where, I hate to keep bringing it back to Star Wars, but that's where Star Wars is falling apart, because you're taking away what works for everybody. That connective tissue that we all had, the generational gap didn't matter between me or Joel, who's 20 years older than me, or this or that. We all had that Star Wars bond, and they've kind of ruined that. So these companies out there should hopefully take from Bumblebee as the new standard in terms of adapting old shit. If you ever make another G.I. Joe movie, make them look more like the cartoon. All these things. Grendel Fan 84, thank you very much. That's why Batfleck is my favorite Batman, and proudly displayed his statue on my Batman bookcase, because he looked like the New 52 Batman. Yeah, he does look like that. And they got the gray suit and the mask. I mean, I know they were kind of going for Frank Miller's Batman with the shape of the cowl and all that. I get it. I would love to see a closer adaptation to like a Neil Adams Batman, or, well, I guess you couldn't. That's why there's a fan film, Grendel Fan, called Batman Dead End, where Batman fights the alien and the Predator. I like that because the dude is built like Batman would be. He wears a gray suit with the trunks that are made of leather, a leather cape. It looks better than every fan costume. It looks better than most of the movie suits. I think it came out in 2003 during the Batman Dark Ages, where Batman and Robin was the last thing on our mind. And, well, that movie sucked. I know people nowadays like to say, well, it's fun to look back on and this and that. Is it, though? Is it? It's really embarrassingly bad. I mean, I can watch it drunk, but I'll never tell you it's a good film. And the Bat costume looks terrible. I do own a Batfleck action figure. It's on my shelf. I own a Batman from every film, and yes, I mean every film. As I look up, I can see multiple Michael Keaton figures. I can see a George Clooney. I can see a Val Kilmer. All of them. Animated series, cartoon, they're all there. Both versions of the animated series. I like to own Batman in every form. There's just something about that character. I got to own one from each movie. And, Batfleck looks cool. I don't love the secondary Justice League costume, but I do like his gray suit. And yes, Keaton was Batman. I love Michael Keaton Batman. That's why there's a $200 Batman doll on my shelf. I'm attached to that design, but as a comic book fan, and Grendel fans there with me, you do get attached to the look of the traditional one because it's what the character is. It's their identity. And so many people try to change it and put their mark on it. That's the problem with a lot of artists. Some of my favorite artists don't try to reinterpret the wheel. They just take the wheel and smooth it out. Like John Romita Sr., he didn't design the Spider-Man suit, but he made it better. He took Ditko's design. He's better at anatomy, just cleaned it up, made it more consistent, and I'll take his Spider-Man artwork to Steve Ditko's every day of the week. It's not even a comparable discussion for me. Swinging Cod, thank you very much. Batman versus Predator was some of Andy Kubert's best. I haven't read that kind of stuff in a long time. Those are the kind of books you'd find, at least around here, at the... So when I was really little, my mom would go to the 99 Center, and they would have packs of comics, like 3 for $1. And you'd get some crap, but sometimes you'd get good stuff. And I remember I'm almost positive I got that book as a little kid. I know I've read the story, much like Batman and Spawn. Those are just stories I've read over the years. I don't remember exactly where I was and all of these things, but I did have those, and I do enjoy those. Let's see. HobbyLink Japan has Play Arts Kai Armored Batman from BVS if you're interested. See, I don't really love the Play Arts figures because they do have a weird artistic vibe to them that I don't feel meshes with the characters. Dion has a Play Arts something, and I just don't like how they do the faces. It's like they try to mix like that anime style with the classic American superhero. It'll work for Solid Snake because, Yoji Shinkawa, Japanese artist, I get it. But I don't really like the meshing of those two things. JJ Zubbles 420, thank you very much. I'm going to say the N-word. Okay. You can say Nagasaki, nuclear. Not going to work here anymore. Take your choice. There's tons of words that begin with N. Let's see. The Never-Ending Story. Lamal. Hush, hush, I do I. There you go. My weekend was okay. I was tired. I was burnt out on Friday. Tried to do a midnight doing the show, then a midnight release stream, and then the stream of the game. Never again. First off, not enough people watching. Secondly, fuck it. I'm a human. I need time. I need time just like each and every one of you. That's why I can't wait till Christmas so I can get the much needed rest I need. But I got to work on this comic book still. So, by the way, for those that did back Stealing Solo, the early bird certificates are on their way to me, which means as soon as I get them, I will go figure out how to use this new printer I bought, print out all the labels, like 1,400 labels I got to print out, and then I'm going to ship them off to you guys. So you will be receiving those. I have to just, as soon as I get them, do that. You'll get them around Christmas time, so be prepared. I told you guys, like the early bird certificates of Star Wars, it was a thing. You buy it, you get it around Christmas, and you're guaranteed your product in the new year. It's just a nice, fun throwback to classic Star Wars when it was a fun brand, I'm glad you're excited for Stealing Solo. I enjoyed doing it. It's a lot of work. I can't wait till it's over so people can read it and we can have fun with it, and then I can get working on the next one. I actually have developed a little more of the next story than I'm willing to let you guys know. Yes, sorry, Dave, you did miss Stealing Solo, but catch the next comic. We will do the 2 months every time, and it'll give everybody ample time to pick up your copy and, have fun with it. Maybe down the road we'll do Jeff Hicks Anthology. It'll be a nice big omnibus of all my comics, and then Stealing Solo can be in there. Let's see. JJ Zibbles 420. Does anyone care about Star Wars anymore? A lot of people do, surprisingly. It's the subject. Here's the thing about Star Wars. And anything that's popular that you liked as a kid, your emotions are tied into it. And your identity's tied into it. And when Kathleen Kennedy says stupid shit, like, where's my phone? I'll give you guys a Kathleen Kennedy quote. This is going to pop up in a later video. Where do we go? So Kathleen Kennedy said, The demographics within our business don't reflect society, and they certainly don't reflect the audience. There should be many, many faces of color, many, many more women, and many more gay people. Kathleen Kennedy. Um, that's fine. Nobody that's attached to Star Wars disagrees that, other people of different beliefs and stuff are important. But that's what the movies now are based on: inclusion. What about good stories? And that's why people get pissed. And yes, people do care. People are more attached than you could possibly imagine. Go back and listen to our original trilogy streams the other day. People in the chat had tons and tons of stuff to talk about. If they're not attached to the new movies, well, damn it, they're attached to the original trilogy or the prequels or the expanded universe or the games, which all do fall under expanded universe licensing. But people are attached to that. And the best part about the Star Wars situation is that people aren't going down without a fight. This is the big part of the culture war. Star Wars is the main event on the card. It's Mike Tyson versus anybody else. Because once Star Wars goes down, the biggest brand goes down for the count, and they win, which means, full-on success, and everyone just kind of ignores the original stuff. Well, then that opens the floodgates for other companies out there, because success is copied and mimicked. That's really what it is. Marvel has the shared universe. Well, DC tried to do it, and they did do a bad job. Now they're trying to fix their shit by having more singularly focused films with stronger casts. I mean, say what you will about Aquaman. You may not like Jason Momoa, but Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Tamara Morrison, Nicole Kidman. I mean, it's a stacked cast. Captain Marvel has Samuel L. Jackson, who is fantastic. Brie Larson, not charismatic. And then Clark Gregg pops up as Coulson. Well, you know what you're going to get with Coulson. That's really about it. Well, but what about Jude Law? What about Jude Law? Jude Law has been in like a couple good things. He's also been in a lot of bad stuff. Jude Law isn't as iconic as somebody like Willem Dafoe. And you're thinking, really? You're saying that? Yeah. Willem Dafoe has an aura about him. His personality, much like Christopher Walken, he's in great stuff. He's in bad stuff, but there's something about the man that transcends just his roles. And Willem Dafoe has that. If you like him from Spider-Man, if you like him from Boondock Saints, if you like him playing Jesus Christ himself, you have a Willem Dafoe for kind of everything, a coverall. And it's just stuff like that I think is a step in the right direction for them. Thunder Robots, thank you very much. The problem with the Bumblebee movie is it's a prequel, so the visuals are just a gimmick to get people to see it after the shitty last night. Yes, but if it makes a bunch of money, other places will copy it. They'll want that Bumblebee money. It's like, oh man, the Bumblebee money. And I know, look, it's the visuals that will draw people in. That is why you can still sell $500 Optimus Prime figures, and they sell out before they even go on pre-order. There's an attachment. There's the 80s wave, whatever came out back in the day, the G.I. Joe Transformer, He-Man, Masters of the Universe, and to a lesser degree Ninja Turtles. We're going to take Ninja Turtles out because, yes, it was an 80s property. It sold a bunch of toys. It was really big in the 90s, too. Those other three I mentioned, G.I. Joe, He-Man, Transformers, kind of lived and died in the 80s. Yes, they did see releases in subsequent decades, but they never had the same appeal. Turtles, big in the 80s, big into the 90s, kind of lived the longest life of all those 80s toy lines. Hell, Turtles had as much of a vibrant toy life as Star Wars. Hell, the other things all had Star Wars toy lives. So that's neither here nor there. But the gimmick will work. Gimmicks are a thing. 3D was a gimmick. It made a bunch of money. Other things are gimmicks. They will make money. Now, I tried watching Transformers last night with Phil. He bought a 4K TV, and he had that as it's my first 4K Blu-ray I want to test out. And it was boring. I hated that movie. I hated Transformers, was it Dark of the Moon or whatever? Joel made me go see that 4th of July 2011. Yeah, Joel, again, that's part of the $500 I want back from you, buddy. I really want that back. You owe me. Actually, you owe me for the WrestleMania ticket, bitch, so pay me. I'm just back with you. But see, with these things, these constant, you need to find something. Now, when I say these things, you don't think, oh, Jeff likes reboots or Jeff is okay with them or he supports them. I don't support beating a dead horse. But above all else, if you're going to adapt something, adapt its truest form. There's a reason it works in a certain format. If you made a Lupin the Third movie without sideburns, what a dumb decision. If you made Batman a movie without a cape, dumb decision. They're just small little visual flares that the internet wants to act like, well, it's not that important. It really is. You know, people will go, not my Batman if there's no cape. People will say, not my Spider-Man if he didn't wear a red suit. People will say, well, not my Superman if he doesn't smile. Oh, wait, we have that already. Let's see, what are we talking about? Joel's fired from picking out films. That is very true. Dion supports beating of live horses. I will put that out there publicly. There we go. So, yeah, people are just dumping on Transformers. That's fine. Like I said, guys, this isn't really me going, oh, man, I love Transformers. I don't at all. So, did we cover Doctor Who yet? No, we did not. We were starting to cover Doctor Who. Yeah, okay. So, Doctor Who Season 13 is the greatest thing ever, said no one. Doctor Who seems to be a hotbed for political discussion, and rightly so, because it seems like in 2018, the only way you can get people to talk about these things, or let me rephrase that. The only thing that the people that produce these shows want to talk about is the diversity and the inclusion and the caring and the kindness, the dick in comics, according to Cecil. Now, Doctor Who, they want to tell you the numbers. They want to twist it and tell you, oh, it launched higher than this and this and that. Okay, well, it did launch with 10.3 million viewers. But how far has it dropped? How far has it gone? And now we see that Doctor Who won't return for a new series until 2020. I have been an on and off Doctor Who fan. I'm not a Whovian per se, but I know enough. I'm the guy that if you walked up to me on the street and recognized me and said, man, what's your take on Doctor Who? We could have a discussion. I could tell you the episodes I like. I could tell you why I like Tenet, this, that, and the other. We could have a discussion about Doctor Who. Classic Who, I don't really go that far back. I just don't have the connection to it, but I respect it. What I don't respect is when any franchise, be it Doctor Who, Star Wars, Marvel, I can't include DC yet. I can't. But they go out of their way to subvert our expectations, change something, and then attack the fans when people don't accept the change. Marethialine says, good morning. Marethialine, good morning to you, my friend. I'm glad to see you back here on Good Morning Pop Culture. I hope your limericks were well this weekend. So, Doctor Who, let me just read this article and we'll start talking about it, because Doctor Who thinks or seems to be a thing that everybody wants to talk about. You could be the world's biggest Whovian. You could not give a shit like my mom or somebody else. But when I think as pop culture fans, we have empathy for our fellow nerd brethren and sisterin and peoplekin and all those other ins you can think of. Because I feel bad for somebody like a Joel who watched Green Lantern get bastardized on film. Or somebody could say, man, Jeff, I feel really bad that you had to watch Spider-Man in Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2. Like, you feel for your, like I said, your pop culture, your fellow pop culture nerd, because it could be your franchise next. It's been my franchises for many, many years. I can't think back and I have to go back until 2002 to think about all my favorite characters getting the representation by said actors that I enjoy. I like Pierce Brosnan, James Bond, Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, and Star Wars prior to Disney. There's never been a time where every version of a character I like is the version I like, be it in comic books, be it in movies, TV, whatever. Maybe 2008 was a good time to be a Spider-Man fan still, because yes, Spider-Man 3 was shitty, but you still had the runoff from the Maguire Spider-Man 2 in the game, and you had Spectacular Spider-Man, which is a fantastic thing. But in a roundabout way, I'm saying is I feel bad for the fans of Doctor Who are attacked for disliking a change in their character and it being turned into a political stance. This is all part of the culture war. This is what we go through every single day, and we will discuss it, and we will disagree with the people who make the media until they stop. It's becoming redundant, and it's almost becoming a joke. Like, I played Spider-Man last night, and they talk about the Black Cat. There's this DLC mission, and J. Jonah Jameson says something about, like, everything else, they're going to reboot it with a woman. And I know that was the creator's way, because look at J. Jonah Jameson, they make him out to be a blowhard. They make him out to be, very right-wing, this and that. But every once in a while, moments of truth slip out. I think the female reboot thing was a dig at fans, but there's a little bit of truth in there as well. It seems hollow and, quite frankly, just in bad taste to constantly reboot that stuff, because it makes women and minority characters feel like they have to live and die by the established brand. That, to me, is disingenuous. I don't like it. I think if they want to talk about progressive society, well, we should already be to where they want us to be. So let's talk about this Doctor Who article. So everybody loves when we talk about Doctor Who, apparently, because it's part of the big thing. So Series 11 ended on Saturday night, but after a festive special on New Year's Day, Jodie Whittaker won't be seen in the TARDIS again next year. Showrunner Chris Chibnall said that work on the new series had already begun. He said that the team had been blown away by the response from the audiences. To the new Doctor, the first episode of the series, the first feature a female Doctor, drew in a record audience. It saw the highest launch viewing figures for the sci-fi stalwart in a decade, with 10.9 million people tuning in. The series has been considered a rating success, with viewing figures above those of the last two series when Peter Capaldi starred in the titular role. On Sunday evening, the Doctor was seen answering a distress call from a battle-scarred planet. So, we're not going to go into each thing, but this is interesting to talk about the New Year's special. Chibnall added that, Lizo Mbimba said there won't be a New Year's. He added that the New Year's Day episode could have been planned so that 2019 won't be totally Doctor Who free. But it'll be the first time that Doctor Who hasn't been shown on Christmas Day since the drama's return in 2005. Again, messing with tradition. People like tradition. People like certain things. I'm going to go to my aunt's house on Christmas, and I'm happy to know that a Christmas story will be on all day for 24 hours. And if I flip the channel, I'll find Christmas Vacation. I don't care if it's the third time I watch Ralphie unwrap his Red Ryder BB gun with the carbon action stock in this thing, which tells time. But I like it. Certain things on certain times of the year are fine. Doctor Who trying to become different around Christmas. Get rid of the Christmas thing because, well, not everyone celebrates Christmas. Not everyone does this. A vast majority of your audience does. Doctor Who celebrates Christmas by having a Christmas-themed episode every year. Like I jokingly say on the channel, you can be so progressive, but you progress yourself out of an audience. There will come a time where people are just like, enough. Why change what works? Oh, because you want to look good on social media. Guys, social media doesn't equal money. Social media does not equal success. You talk about it, great. Did you hear that The Walking Dead was trending, or that WWE was the #1 trending topic on Twitter? Did you also hear that it was the lowest viewed episode in history? You see how there's not a correlation? They want to go for the social media thing. They want to tell you that social media is where it's at. They want you involved on social media. But just because you're involved on social media, just because you use a hashtag, just because you do all these stupid things online, doesn't mean you support the product. It all boils down to, I want to look like I'm a part of this group, but I'm not actually a part of this group, because to be a part of the group requires a financial investment from me. So I want it to be made in my liking, but I won't buy it no matter what. We can always fall back to the Star Wars analogy, be it toys, whatever. That is why they jump back to the original trilogy. Why? Because the new shit doesn't make money. People don't want it. People aren't receptive to it. Same with Doctor Who. Oh, you got your viewers. Initially, people watched out of curiosity. but it also had massive drops, which means people didn't like what they saw. The magic of all this stuff is to get a big audience and that they stay. If you subsequently lose people each week, or lose people each subsequent week, you're doing something wrong. Well, what about DVR, this and that and the other? There are ways to calculate those numbers, but the publicly released numbers, if you want to calculate your 10.3 million views, you need to calculate each episode in the same manner. You don't get to come up with qualifiers and say, well, what about no. We know that 4 million people have watched less, over the course of 2 or 3 episodes. You're not hooking the audience. It's not working. It never worked. It won't work in the future. Brandon Moist, thank you very much for your super chat. Best way to start the week is with Good Morning Pop Culture. I'm glad you're enjoying it, Brandon Moist. The moisture is here, folks, and may moisture permeate each and every one of us. It is it's the most vital part of life. Let's see. People are talking about A Christmas Story. I love A Christmas Story. I watched it the other day. For pure Christmas entertainment, you can't go wrong with Christmas Story. Because I like how it's realistic to the fact about certain things. Like, that God bless us, every one of us, and all that stuff from A Christmas Carol. I get it. It's meant to represent, the beauty and the spirit of Christmas, but it's a little too saccharine. I don't need something as cynical and dark as maybe Bad Santa, even though I love Bad Santa. But I do like the magic of Christmas blended in with, BB gun mania, as Ralphie says in the narration. There are certain hallmarks that movie hits, and it really is timeless. You don't worry about the timeline of the 40s or no TV or this, that, and the other. Every kid can relate. Every adult can relate. There's that Christmas gift, that great white buffalo, the thing you never got. Let me know what you didn't get in the chat. For me, it was Donkey Kong Country. I got Donkey Kong 64. Fuck that game. But I always wanted Donkey Kong Country, and it just never, ever got it. But let's see. People are telling me about their favorite Christmas movies: Home Alone, Vacation. I like Home Alone 1 and 2, and 3 is my most guilty pleasure film. Like, I could watch Home Alone 3 right now and be like, shit, I'm embarrassed to tell people, but I used to watch this movie all the time. I loved it. Didn't care if Macaulay Culkin wasn't in it. I liked Scarlett Johansson back in the day. I just liked the villains. I thought they were stupid and funny. Then again, I was 9 years old, so you grow up, you change. It's a guilty pleasure, but to be fair, I haven't seen it in like 10 years, so I could actually change. I'm going by how I remember liking it. I wanted a TIE Fighter in 1996. Oh, the Hasbro Kenner re-release from the Power of the Force 2 line. I got one of those. I was fortunate when it came to Star Wars toys. My mom had the innate ability to tell when I was truly into something, and when I was, she went all out. So Power Rangers, she went all out. Star Wars, she went all out. And the weird thing about Star Wars toys is I would get them like every week. It wasn't like, oh, I got a whole bunch at Christmas. It was like, oh, I got to go to Walmart to pick up, I don't know, spray paint. You want to get Luke Skywalker? Yes. Or we were out running somewhere and we ran into Walmart and I got Lando Calrissian or a Stormtrooper or a Sand Trooper or something. It was a really cool collecting craze with Star Wars. And I got a TIE Fighter, I think, just out of the blue one day because they were like $20. And my mom was like, okay, I'll get it for you. I got an X-Wing for Christmas. I got Darth Vader's TIE Fighter the following Christmas. I got the Millennium Falcon Christmas 96. Good times. Star Wars toys made me happy. That is why when I make these videos, yes, I'm joking and laughing about how they're failing, but the failure for me is to see how low the quality's dipped. The sales are one thing, the drop in quality is another, and it's embarrassing to see how bad Star Wars has become. Take it from me, folks, a guy who's been around for 22 years in the fandom. It's never been a worse time. Let's see. I grew up kind of poor. I always wanted a USSS flag, G.I. Joe aircraft carrier, but my parents couldn't afford it, so my mom made one for me, almost to scale. Oh, that is an awesome mom right there. That is an awesome mom. I love mom stories. I tell my mom stories all the time because my mom's a great lady. I'm sure everyone out there loves their moms and has great mom too. But no matter where you come from, you can always find a dedicated mom, no matter what culture you come from. And moms always go above and beyond. There's that special mom-son bond. I was about to say, Itepukuyan, if you didn't get one, when the channel hits it really big, I'll send you one for all the support. I'll be like, yeah, we just made a movie that made $2 billion. What are you going to do with it? Well, we're going to make the next one, but we'll have a fan contest. Tell me your childhood dream toy, and maybe we'll deliver it live to you. That's something I'd love to do. I know that seems really lame to say on the air, but no matter how old you get, no matter how cool you think you are, if there was that one elusive thing you always wanted, and somebody you like for example, let's say, I'm trying to think of something I want. Eventually did get Donkey Kong Country. Let's say Harrison Ford delivered me a rare exclusive Indiana Jones toy. I'd be thanking him for not, bringing the police after what happened in the basement, but you would get excited. Imagine that, oh, so-and-so brought you your favorite toy. You're like 30 or 40. You're like, you think you don't want it, but when it's put in your hand, you're like, this is the thing I've always wanted, I've always dreamed about. And then you have it, you're just like, huh, that'd be a cool moment. The Boba Fett was shooting missile. Perth Comics, I hope you can find one of those, because those were never released technically to the public. I've seen one in person, though, because all the Star Wars toys were developed here in town. So I know a guy who knows a guy. I need to get in his store and do a live stream there. Disney Star Wars put Toys R Us out of business. I don't know if that's factually true, but it didn't help save Toys R Us. I went to my local Walmart the other day to pick up something I ordered online, and their Star Wars selection was still the Solo stuff from months ago. You got to wonder what they're doing. You got to wonder really how they're trying to... I won't say they're intentionally killing the brand on that front, because they want to make the money, but they're just not hitting it right. Raphaeline, thank you very much for your super chat. One Christmas, I got episode 1 AAT tank for my grandma, and every year my family has a 3-course breakfast made from scratch on Christmas. Well, Raphaeline, can you make space for one more? I want to come over and eat a 3-course family breakfast at Christmas. Shit, I love Christmas food. That's the one day. Christmas and Thanksgiving are days of the year I don't give a shit. I'll eat till I'm just going to pass out. I want that tryptophan in my system from the turkey. I want to have a ham coma. I want my blood pressure sky high as I eat 12 pieces of pie, Ethan Van Sciver style. I never received any episode 1 toys for Christmas. My 2 episode 1 figures were purchased prior to the film, and then my mom bought me the Comtech reader because it was cheap, and that was it. That's all the episode 1 stuff I had. I didn't dig it, man. I didn't. But I really want to come over for breakfast, man. Shoot me a PM over on Patreon with your address. I'll be there Christmas morning. I'll bring gifts and some really good coffee. Cesare Japan, thank you very much. Going back slightly, there was a Lupin the Third live-action movie 2014 made by TMS. Okay-ish, but they couldn't find an actress with a bust like Fujiko. Cesare Japan, I know the film you're talking about. Yeah, you're not going to find a woman as busty as Fujiko Mine. And I guess if you can't, you shouldn't make it. Well, not Japanese anyway. Well, no, they are there, but they just didn't cast her. I did get my Lupin the Third DVD set, or Blu-ray set, since you brought this back up. Series 4, the Italian Adventures. Pretty good. Not loving the fact that they don't have the Lupin the Third theme song, but that's just me being a purist. But I do love the blue jacket. I'm glad that this voice cast is back, and the animation is top notch. It's vintage. It's new. I love it. I like when things pay respect to the series, but also advance the movie, the character, the story. I'm not stuck living in the past, but you should always respect it. And if you've made mistakes in the past, don't make them again, because you've made them before. Don't get lazy and do it again. Last year was everyone was saying, let the past die, kill it if you have to. Now Disney milks the past because they have to. Believe me, if they didn't want to milk the past and nostalgia, Star Wars, this theme park, wouldn't have a Millennium Falcon. It wouldn't have, but it's part of the new movies. It's part of the new movies because the old Falcon was one of the best ships of the original trilogy, and every kid, no matter how shitty that Falcon truly was, everybody wanted one. Everybody wanted the toy. Everybody wanted to be Han Solo. Han Solo was like the high school dropout guy that kind of had a cool car and scored. He was Matthew McConaughey in Stranger or Dazed and Confused, but in outer space. So space Matthew McConaughey, McConaughey. I can't do it. Kendo, where are you at? Thunder Robots, thank you very much. Batman and Robin works as a perfect sequel to Batman the movie. I discovered this when I noticed the same tones were present, so I watched them together. Do you mean Batman the movie from 1967, the Adam West film? Because, yeah, I always thought that Batman and Robin feels like an adaptation of the 60s Batman show. If Warner Brothers were to market that movie that way nowadays, maybe. But I think 1997, Batman and Robin was out. You were in this pre-Matrix, post-Batman era where things were a little more violent and gritty. Then you had Blade come out, which was dark. Then you had X-Men come out, which was kind of like not dark, but dark-ish, if that makes sense. Like they had their leather suits. It took place at night. Still in that Batman vein. It wasn't until Spider-Man came out in 2002 where we got lighter superhero fare. But during the release schedule of Batman and Robin, I don't think people were thinking that. I don't think Warner Brothers was thinking that. And only through the lens of time do people look at the film that way. And maybe they're a little more receptive to it. Thanks, Kendo. Spazed and Confused, starring Matthew McConaughey. All right, cool. We got it. That's how it goes. So we have our Doctor Who covered. That was oh God, please don't bring up Pluto Nash. I keep seeing that pop up in our chats, and I'm just like, no, that's the worst Eddie Murphy movie. Well, it's a bad Eddie Murphy movie. I don't like it. So, have you guys noticed this whole like anti-Christmas thing as of late? Now, I'm not here to get on a religious kick or anything like that, but I have to keep hearing how these Christmas songs are offensive. I have to keep hearing how all of these things are terrible. But the worst part is I have to keep hearing the same repetitive Christmas songs because the good ones can't get played anymore. And what I mean by that is yesterday I took my mom to breakfast or brunch at the Cheesecake Factory, and they kept the Sleigh Ride Together with You song. I heard that song literally 4 times in the span of 20 minutes, and they were different versions. Like it would play it, and then it would play like some incidental music, and then it would play a different version of the same song. I about lost my shit yesterday. I love Christmas as much as the next guy. I might be the next Clark W. Griswold, but damn it. If I have to hear that song one more time, well, it's not going to end well. Marethialine, thank you very much for Super Chat. John Hammond learned from past mistakes, then made new ones. Why is Disney and the NPC movement still repeating old ones? I keep telling myself we're not going to talk about NPCs and SJWs, but every day they seem to keep popping up, and really their rhetoric is ruining entertainment. They think they're going to beat people into submission, but all they're going to get is a violent backlash. And I don't mean like a physical violent backlash, but there's going to be a point where all the things they push for that have already been achieved will take a step back, and people don't like that. I think Disney and Marvel and all these things, they think they're being hip, progressive, and cool. And quite frankly, they're just hurting their own causes. And that's not cool for anybody. Not at all. The fans aren't... Here's the nice thing about fans, especially in the genre entertainment. We'll say geek culture, whatever you want to say. But fans that like comics and geek culture stuff have a really, really powerful memory. And I don't just mean like how something makes you feel, but like I was at the comic book store the other day when I did my stream. I stayed there for like another half an hour. And this guy from memory was recalling like every actress from Power Rangers, this, that, and the other. And he was like getting this really, really passionate conversation about it. And I'm thinking to myself, I encounter people like this all the time. When we had our EU stream on here, people were talking about this story and that story all the time. These things are passionately linked to people. They made a mistake by trying to pull this shit in genre entertainment, and they made a mistake by trying to pull this shit in sports entertainment or just regular sports. These are things, these are avenues where, the older fan base never went away. And the older fan base will accept changes, they'll accept, like Star Trek fans. Well, Captain Janeway, fine. Female captain, no big deal. What's his name? Cisco, black captain. Okay, fine, not a big deal. But then CBS and Viacom and all these people like actively went against said fans who had already been so receptive to whatever, and you just attack them. That's why these people constantly make the mistakes. I think they might look at it as at least somebody's talking about us. Like, I've never watched Star Trek Discovery, and I never will, but I've talked about it on this channel a lot because it's part of the thing that we're going through right now. You know, I've never seen Venom. I talk about it a lot too because it's all part of Marvel's shifting cultural stranglehold. And I do firmly believe that Avengers Endgame could be the greatest movie. I want to see it. I'm excited to see it. But by the same accord, I feel like that could be the changing of the guard. Not necessarily that Captain Marvel failed. Look, Captain Marvel comes out on the 8th of March. Infinity War comes out a month later. It's going to be really weird to see March, April. Yeah, it comes out in about a month and a couple weeks. There's never been a Marvel gap so small, such a small window. I think Captain Marvel could be hurt by Avengers coming out so close for the legs. Like, you'll get the people like us that see it for, you know, all you guys and the reviews and stuff like that. But then at the same time, it's going to basically not have the legs because some people are like, well, I'm going to wait for Avengers to see how it plays out. Because this is just an origin story, a very misplaced origin story, at least with Black Panther. While it is an origin story, it does tell things that will lead to important parts of Infinity War in the same timeline. Time travel movies work when the time travel is simplistic. Back to the Future is a very straight linear timeline. You have your 1985 Prime, you have your alternate 85 where Biff is corrupt and powerful, and you have the future based on that and the future based on the Prime timeline. It's pretty easy. They explain it on a chalkboard and there's no confusion. Marvel might get too confusing if they're trying to tell a flashback movie in the 90s, then there's time travel in the next Avengers. There could be just too much. Cesaria Japan, thank you very much for super chat. 37 versions of holiday songs soured me to the holidays. You just can't handle the same fucking songs repeated over. It's like, hey, John Legend sings this one. Hey, Christina Aguilera sings this one. I don't care about the coffee and the pumpkin pie anymore. Please stop singing the song. You could put on my least favorite songs after a round of the same Christmas song being played constantly over and over again, and I will. It's a welcome respite. You could play You can play Sweet Child of Mine after those Christmas songs, and I'm like, thank God for Axl Rose. Like, I would feel like Derek from Step Brothers. I would even sing about how I can sing high like that and almost crash my Land Rover. I just need a break. You know, there is a moment, there's a breaking point. There's a breaking point for all these things. Let's see, 137 days to Endgame. Kendo, if you're available, you want to come on and talk about Endgame? If you're not too tired, you can help me close out the show. I'm thinking, folks, next week is a holiday thing for all the people who have been patrons and stuff and have continued to support us like that. Might have some more guests, like Superfan Adam Shawhan. I want to get that guy on a show because the dude is like seriously the biggest fan, and every time he comes on the channel, either like we're at the end of something or he gets pushed out. But I want to get him on an early stream, have him hang out with us, talk to us. Great dude. Want to have him on. And, I want to have each and every one of you guys on. So just get involved. All right, so Kendo is on his way. Awesome, guys. We'll close out the stream with Kendo. That way we won't have my computer die on me because that would suck. Battery power. Computer's safe. But, I think I blew a fuse or something happened over here. So it would suck if the socket or the power outlet was destroyed because all my electronics are over here. Thankfully, they're not destroyed. But it would suck. So we had a super chat from GrendleFan84. It says, South Park foretold the very PC culture towards Christmas way back in season 1, episode 9, Mr. Hankey's introduction. Very scary to watch today. Well, GrendleFan84, I think I'm going to have to watch it this week. I'm in the Christmas spirit. I want to watch Christmas-based entertainment, but I'll give that one a watch. A lot of these 90s shows foretold a lot of this stuff, and we just thought it was funny, but now we live it, and it's not funny anymore. Like, the joke's on us. The scariest one is King of the Hill. Some of the shit they foretold was ridiculous. especially with like Connie Supanusen phone not being Asian enough or this or that, diversity, representation. A lot of these shows called it beforehand. And I don't know about you guys, but hopefully we can get some sanity back in society. That's all I want to say. We'd like some sanity back in society. It's not about reducing the roles of minority and people of color in society and all this other crap that they try to throw at you. It's just straight up certain things were better the way they were. Ruth Deline, thank you very much. My previous job in retail, where I had to listen to the same 15 Christmas songs, turned me off. Now, with my new job, I'm very busy during the holiday. Well, I'm glad you're away from it, and I hope the constant hustle and bustle doesn't blow you out. Plus, it's a good job that you enjoy. Funny you bring that up, though. My mom works retail, and she hates the Christmas music. She asked her boss to forget to turn on the Christmas music. That did not happen this year. Last year it did. Make a shirt says putting sanity back into society. You know what? I'm going to take a screenshot of that Jaron Ricewig, and yeah, we will. World class bullshitters putting sanity back into society. There we go. Screenshot it. Boom. Because I would love to. We're going to have a ton of crazy shirts in the new year. I honestly just, with the comic and the videos and all this stuff, it has to just be early next year, but it will be. And you guys, put it like this: I'll have them readily available for you guys for Star Wars Celebration. So if they launch in March, it gives you guys plenty of time, me plenty of time to send them out. Hell, it could be February, who knows? But everyone will be able to wear their shirts to Celebration. And we got a special thing planned for you guys. Ethan, Jeremy, and I keep talking about what we want to do for Celebration. We got a list, a master list. And if you have the means to get to Chicago but not the convention, hang out with us. We're going to do non-Star Wars Celebration things. It will be a big gathering, a fun, positive gathering, and people are going to enjoy the shit out of it. So, let's see. Anybody else? People are talking about Christmas. You watched Life of Brian for Christmas. Can you bring someone to a live stream with them using their phone? You can. Depending on the audio quality, will keep you around. If it's, put it like this, if you're on your phone in a quiet place, it can work. If you're in a noisy place and it sounds like shit, well, for the sake of everyone else's ears, we'll have to, cut it. Swinging Cod, thank you very much. Jeff, can you do a Stealing Solo art stream? Or that's not from Swinging Cod. I could. Thing is, I won't talk to you guys when that's the problem I have with game streaming and other things too. Like when I stream things that you watch, I feel like I'm obligated to talk to you because this channel's based on my words. And I don't like to talk when I draw. I don't talk. I really don't like when people stand over my shoulder and watch. That's probably why I didn't offer convention sketches. When I would go to these shows, I would offer art prints, original art, and stuff like that. But I just don't. The process takes a while. And I really don't want to have to be like performing to draw, if that makes sense. It's just, the end product is what's important. Not, oh, you drew that eye 4 times. Who gives a shit? Like, it's all about the end product. So I'm thinking about, and I know this sounds weird, I'm actually thinking about doing this during our Spider-Man stream. I might actually bust out and draw some Spider-Man pictures on the stream. And we can maybe, I don't know, I can get it colored or something, and then maybe raffle it away down the road. That could be fun, like a one digital print type of thing. I do want to do art streams, but I don't, first off, I don't want to give away the story of Stealing Solo. And secondly, we'll see. Kendo, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. Just enjoying this beautiful Monday. I think it's a Monday.
Yeah. Is it snowing out there?
No, but it's really frosty outside. I woke up and there's definitely a nice sheen across the field.
Yeah, we got that too. I had to go out this morning to get something, and I was like, I better put my boots on because I don't want to slip and fall and break my hip like an old lady.
Yeah, we can't be having that.
No. I mean, I could do the show, but I'd be in constant pain, and that's just not fun for anybody. Plus, I'm getting
good
myself...
medicine, though.
What?
You get some good medicine, though.
It's true. I'll go to my neighbor. Swinging Cod, though, had a super chat. Let's see. Thank you for being patient. You forgot when we went through this in the 90s and beat it back for 20 years. Watch PCU. The NPC will burn themselves out as long as we hold the line. Swinging Cod, I agree with that. And that is why, for some people, the Star Wars stuff seems redundant. But I have told you guys this. And Kendo, you can attest to it. You listen to the content, even though you're not proud of the quality content we produce.
That's right. Not at all.
Not at all, asshole. The point I'm trying to make, folks, is I do not want you to forget about Star Wars. Do not become apathetic. Do not become apathetic about the culture war, because the stuff that we're fighting for, let's say there are two sides, does not include, racial stereotypes and all these terrible things that everyone wants to act like we're living through. The part of the culture war we're fighting for is the sanity and the quality of entertainment, and for entertainment to be held to the highest standard that it previously was. I firmly stand by this. If you have Wonder Woman stands on its own as a good movie, it doesn't need to be, broken into a category of female directed, female led, this, that, and the other. No, it's just a good movie. Wayne's World, one of the best movies of the 90s. I don't care if a woman directed it. Do you, Kendo? Wait, did you beep poop out?
No, somebody unplugged my headphones just now. So
oh, okay.
I literally did not hear what you were saying.
Oh, all I was saying is, shit, I lost my own point too. Sorry. We're talking about the NPC culture, how we beat it back. And I was just saying how we, the stuff we're fighting for is just for films to be held on a, higher merit. You don't get points for intention. You get points for execution. Wonder Woman was a good movie that stands on its own. It doesn't get, diversity points. Captain Marvel won't get diversity points. It will be held to the same standard, because that's what like true entertainment equality is. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. It's essentially wanting to get, the equivalent of a participation award. Oh, look, I made a movie and it was so good. Look at the message it put out. That's not what this stuff is supposed to be. It's supposed to be entertainment. People watch movies for entertainment. Most people that see movies are people like us that have real lives, real jobs, real struggles. And, we watch movies, play video games, stuff of that nature, to not worry about all that shit we deal with on a daily basis. The last thing we want is to be preached to.
Exactly. That's why certain games hit the way they do. Like Smash Brothers. When I play that game, I am not bombarded with any of the crap modern society has to talk about. Now, Spider-Man has a little bit of it in it, and I do have, the game's great. It's the best Spider-Man game, but it does have at least things that draw me out of the story, Thankfully, they kind of rectify that towards the end of the game, especially with Mary Jane. But we'll talk about that on Friday night. Nice. But I'm glad... I'm just saying that's really what it all boils down to. And I'm glad that Swinging Cod understands about holding the line, because, again, to reiterate what I've said in the past, the people will eat themselves. These arguments eat themselves. Look at the stuff Ethan covers about these guys in chat rooms and stuff. It's all self-destructive. We're sitting here talking about movies and entertainment and fun stuff, and, we treat our fans with respect, and we treat you guys like you're part of the crew. We don't, do weird behind the scenes shit and have all these weird cabal like scary things going on. And we like, at least for all of us here on the, the high council, world-class bullshitters, all of us, we don't sit and make plans about who we're going to take down, how we're going to hurt this person, what we're going to do because they're problematic. It's problematic, the word problematic. You see how that just cancels each other out and it becomes hypocritical to say it. I know what I'm getting at. My point that I actually want to make, though, is we have entertainment's best interest at heart, and it doesn't matter if we agree on everything or like everything. I don't really care about Lord of the Rings. I tried watching it again this weekend, but you know what, if you're out there and you love it and you want more fantasy entertainment, cool, but make it pure fantasy entertainment. Don't the narrative of what's her fucking face, Kate Blanchett, the strong female, this, that, and the other. She's a wizard or a mage or some shit like that. Just let her be a wizard or a mage, and let's not bring it into 2018 politics and ruin it.
Yeah.
Laura, it's a short story. Thank you very much for your super chat. World's largest arcade is in Chicago. Sounds fun.
I'm down. I love arcades.
Noah's Arcade?
Yeah.
Aurora.
Where the games are played, it's cool, it's hip, it's Noah's Arcade.
I just crossed my arms.
So did I.
I really want to watch Wayne's World. Have we ever done a Wayne's World watch party?
We've not done a watch party. We did record a commentary for the Patrons with it once, but we never did a watch party.
February, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was earlier this year. It was long time. Yeah, because we put it out for it was Valentine's Day, because that's the day that Wayne's World came out in theaters.
Maybe
It was
we'll
like
have to
the
do a live stream.
26th or 7th anniversary of it.
I'll talk to you and Nick and Dion. I actually got a couple ideas for some backloading of Patreon stuff, especially closer we get to Oscar season. But I'll just tell you off air. I don't want to. You get what I'm getting at.
Yeah, so we're gonna sit down and watch a bunch of Oscar award-winning movies.
Good ones that
Yeah.
you know. I actually got The Godfather now, so I'm thinking about giving it a shot.
I like The Godfather. The book was good. The movie was good. I enjoyed it.
Well, a lot of people will say, you haven't seen this movie? No, I haven't. I've also seen some shit you've never even heard of. So it kind of balances it out. But just because I haven't seen it doesn't mean I disrespect its legacy. Like, I've never watched Citizen Kane. I'll eventually watch it. If I like it, I like it. If I don't, I don't. I don't feel. Here's the difference between me, this channel in general, and a lot of other YouTube channels, especially like Screen Junkies and other ones that consider themselves film critics. They feel obligated to like a certain movie or a certain thing because it's Oscar award worthy or this or that. They feel obligated, and they feel like their identity is hinged upon, well, I don't like what everybody else likes. Did you get that feeling from a lot of other places?
Yeah, because I've tried to watch the movie, because I sat down, what was it, a couple years ago, and I thought, you know what, I want to go back and watch these movies that I haven't seen that won the Best Picture award. I want to see what I missed, and most of them I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? What is this? I don't get it. It's like last year, The Shape of Water won. It's like it's essentially that this girl that can't talk is gonna bang the Thing, or the Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's really all turned into. She marries a fish.
Wow,
Cool.
That sounds amazing. Can't wait to watch.
So that's why I was just like, I don't know. I kind of that whole thing started, and then it petered out really fast, because I'm just like, yeah, most of these are way too artsy, and I like to just turn on the movie and not have to do anything for 2 hours and not have to think or interpret. It's just entertain.
Well, sometimes I do want to think and interpret. Like, I enjoy that stuff. I also like, this is something I inherited from my mom, good or bad. She's one of those people, she will try to work out the movie in her head or the thing in her head before it ever gets said in the film. So she's like, that's the bad guy or this or that. And she's pretty good at it too. I tell her, like, don't overanalyze this, just watch the movie. There are times where I want to feel like, where I want to pick it apart and analyze it and dissect it. And like you said, there are times where I just want to watch Back to the Future and I want to say, who do you think? The Libyans? And, laugh my ass off. There's a happy medium. And in geek culture, there's a happy medium for a lot of that, especially in Star Wars. But it wasn't done well. It wasn't. The thing is, for everyone that wrote an article last year that says The Last Jedi is the smartest Star Wars film, it's fucking not. It really is a dumb film that has very little substance. And that the fact that Rian Johnson has to try to hide behind, well, it's such a deep film, it's this, that, and the other. Sorry, Ryan, it really has no substance, and you really lack the ability as a director to create and produce something that is thought-provoking. You're not a Christopher Nolan. This isn't Inception. This isn't Memento. You're not producing this great piece of art. You're taking the brand Star Wars and running it through the mud and then trying to clean it off and say it's been great the whole time.
Yeah, the only thing deep about The Last Jedi was the amount of shit in it.
It's so dense.
Yeah, it was. I felt dumber having watched that movie.
Can you believe it's almost been a whole year?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, cause, you know what's going on with my situation, work wise, and what comes up at the end of the year and all that stuff. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, God damn alarm clock. This has been memory lane with Kendo Slice. But yeah, no, I was sitting there thinking about it. I was like, man, this time last year, I was like, man, this time last year I was actually getting ready to go to Cincinnati for the weekend for 5 days or whatever it was, and to watch The Last Jedi. And I remember there was the excitement, not necessarily for the movie, just to get out of town. First actual out of town vacation I got to have in a couple years, and all that good stuff. I was like, man, that was a lot of fun. Well, at least with this new position, I'll be able to do shit like that again.
Yeah. Well, you'll have Chicago and Horror Hound.
Yeah, that's why I messaged you the yesterday or the day before. I was like, hey, can I get those dates on Horror Hound? Because that window is going to open up soon. I want to be able to make absolutely sure I got the time booked off.
And then Star Wars Celebration, I'll give you those dates too.
Well, I think I kind of already know those just because it's the weekend after WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's not a weekend. It's like
it's 5 days.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like Wednesday through Sunday after Wrestle. I'm just going to take my vacation that week.
Okay. Well, I'll make it worth your time. Trust me.
Yeah,
It'll be a lot of
fully
fun.
Figure it will be. It's it's going to be us hanging out in Chicago. What could go wrong?
Everything.
Well, yeah.
American Trent 007. He's a man who will be with us in Chicago. A Charlie Sheen, Kendo. We've got to start that 2.5 Men review channel.
Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of people really enjoy what we're saying about escapism. Like Barbarella Alpha says, we are fighting for escapism, and the key is not to make it ideologically or make the ideological politics priority one. So Barbarella Alpha feels it.
Oh yeah, because I mean, like I was saying, we have real lives. We're Joe Sixpack and Jane Box of Wines. I want to make that a thing. We need that as a shirt. And I actually know exactly what it should look like. That's not for the time being though. So essentially, that's we go to work, we do things, we have families, well, some of us, and stuff of that nature. So movies and stuff, it's just about, I want to spend the next couple hours just enjoying something. I don't want to have to think about the horrible day I had at work, or the kid screwing up his grades, or anything of that nature.
Or the TV.
Yeah, or the kid breaking my television.
Poor Dion.
I didn't know what to say to him. I was just like, that sucks, dude. I'm sorry. That's awful.
I could admit, like, he never calls us to complain, but when he did, I could just tell, like, he was ready to lose his shit. For the folks out there, his kid broke his brand new TV.
Yeah, while he was at work.
Yeah, he wasn't even home to see it happen or stop it. Just 55-inch TV shot to hell.
Yep.
Poor guy. Poor guy. We love you, Dion.
We do.
Folks, if you'd like to send Dion a new TV, email it to WCBS Show, P.O. Box 50.
Dion Green, care of WCBS.
Yeah. I don't need a 55-inch TV, so I will pass it on to Dion.
Yes,
dude, I would shit if somebody actually mailed us a TV. They're like, yeah, for Dion. I'd be like,
you go to the post office box, and like there's this huge ass box there, and you're like, what the hell did we buy?
And they're just like, here you go. I'm like, Dion, did you get your TV fixed? No, I can't afford it yet. Well, a listener from Sao Paulo, Brazil just sent you a new one.
Yeah. Thank you, Ricardo.
Mr. V, thank you very much for your super chat. The two most powerful warriors are patience and time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like somebody said that, they tried pulling the stuff back in the 90s. I vaguely remember stuff like that because I know that's when like PC language became a thing, and we had to change all of our terms and things like that when we're discussing people in groups, and there was a lot of hyphenation going on. And they tried. It crept in, and some of it has stuck around, but for the most part, it kind of went by the wayside. And it'll eventually peter out again, and we'll sort of have a bit of normalcy return.
Well, I heard something. This might be a little controversial to say, but fuck it, I'll say it anyway. I heard somebody had said, like, because society's at peacetime and there's really nothing for people to focus on, so they focus on non-existent things. So, like, for example, maybe we were reaching that point in the late 90s, and then 9/11 happened, and so we focused on real life stuff and had real issues, real problems, and there were a lot of things to focus on. So, for example, I consider Spider-Man the most important movie of the early 2000s because it was the first post 9/11 film, escapist entertainment. It kind of helped people get out of that funk because we lived in that post-funk. It was definitely tangible. Something was different. That Christmas was different. Just certain things were, it was still on people's minds, and the world was changing. Maybe not for the good. But then you had that movie come out, and it kind of brought you back. And then, like I always say, if something makes a bunch of money, other things follow suit. And they followed suit. And then we got to this point again where, what do we do next in movies? Well, let's try that thing we tried 20 years ago. And again, we're having a pushback. Now, I'm not calling for anything bad to happen, but real world issues should, are usually the thing that'll take people out of that funk, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because I was actually thinking the exact same thing when I was going back over it. I was like, yeah, that was happening in the 90s, and then it all came to an end. And yeah, I was thinking that's kind of, that event is what did it. or at least changed perception in the country. Because I know there was we had a bit of a malaise going on in the late 90s because the government was all about scandal. It's all you saw on the TV. And then we had the election of 2000, and that was causing huge divides and things like that. And there was just all that. And then, then 9/11 happened. And then suddenly everyone became patriotic. And we focused on, we got to make the world a better place. Not socially, but just in general, we have to make it safer. And that changed a lot.
That was the last big thing. So we'll see what happens next. Like I said, I'm not, because here's the thing that sucks about having this channel. You got to always reiterate your point so people don't make assumptions, because, what happens when you assume it makes an ass out of you and me? Well, it also makes you a liar and me being, accused of stuff. Nobody on this channel's stance does not call for anything negative or bad to happen.
No.
We're just making a connection between an event like that and then how entertainment reflects. I think what I was hoping for, and I'm still hoping for, especially with us and the way our channel grows and stuff, is I'm hoping we have an 80s renaissance, not in the way of like Stranger Things, where it has, we're in 80s music, 80s fashion, 80s this and that is all in our show. We're making shows in the 80s. But in the 80s, things were either financially driven or creatively driven. And you had all kinds of great, only in the 1980s could Alf exist. Only in the 80s could you have a show like Miami Vice. Only in the 80s could you have these other properties take off and become a thing, and that there are things that are gold mines that people go back to and try to bring back. I want something to happen where creativity, like the floodgates, open up, and there's just a huge competitive thing. Like YouTube could be that, should be that, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, we need something. Something needs to happen, because the way it's going is entertainment's just slowly trying to pander, because it can't be financially driven, because if you're marketing to the least percentage people in society, I can't see where there's a ton of financial viability there. But I don't know. It's maybe they're trying to expect us to walk into a movie, come walking out and be like, my entire worldview is different.
Yeah, right. That'll happen.
That's not going to happen.
Well, for me, let's just use the popular things, the NPC crowd. They don't really have a lot of money to spend.
No.
I feel like they're the worst people to market to, because you can weather a social media shitstorm as a company, but you can't weather New Coke. And what I mean by that is, when Coke changed the formula and people went on, people go, well, that just made them want the original Coke more. I think it was honestly a way for them to try to compete with Coke or Pepsi. It backfired, so they went back, and then they're just, we played it off like, we always meant to do that type of thing. That was a marketing catastrophe. You can't come back from too many of those. And Star Wars has had that. They can't really afford another Solo. They can't afford another Last Jedi. Disney can't afford that, because the future of their, entertainment theme park thing is, Star Wars this and Star Wars that. You'll get your Star Wars people, but it can peter off. Attractions do go away, and it costs so much money. You'll make it back quick, but when is the return on investment enough for them to consider if it flops now, who cares? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, because when people buy something or they invest in something, you're not investing just to get your money back. That's not how investment works. You're looking to invest time and money into getting double or triple or 10 pull more of your money back. That's I don't buy stock to say, oh dude, you know what, I put 1,000 in and it went down, but it's back to 1,000, everything's good. No, you buy $1,000 worth of stock because you want it to be worth $10,000. Yeah. So when people are like, well, Star Wars made back its investment, it took them 4 or 5 years, but they got their $4 billion back. Yeah, but that's not what Disney was expecting to happen when they bought Lucasfilm. They were expecting to make $16 billion off of it in those 4 years. They get their investors in there. They have to pitch them the idea that we're going to spend $4 billion of your invested money on Lucasfilm. The investors are going to say, what are we going to get out of it? And they're like, this, is a hot property. We're going to bring it back. We're going to make $20 billion over the course of 10 years. investors are gonna be like, okay, yeah, that's great. So when it took them 5 years to get just back the 4 billion, the investors probably weren't too thrilled that it took them that long to at least start moving back into the positive direction on their investment.
No, I mean Marvel made $17 billion in 10 years. We're at year 3 technically, because we got to go off the date where the movies launched. Because yes, Disney did buy Lucasfilm in 2012, but 2015 is when The Force Awakens came out. So, we're 3 years in, and Star Wars has kind of come to a halt because what are we building towards? When Disney purchased Marvel in 2009, we had already had Iron Man.
Yep.
And we were on our way to Iron Man 2, and we were already aware of the Avengers. Avengers is the end game. We know we're going to have this Avengers movie. It's going to be huge. Everybody was bought in. They planted the seed in the first Iron Man movie. They had it in the Incredible Hulk, which was that summer as well. We were, as a society, we were already talking about, we'd already been conditioned for post-credit sequences. We'd already been conditioned for our shared universes. We were there. Disney swooped in, and like I said, no one ever pays attention to this. The first Avengers is a Paramount picture. Go watch your Blu-ray. If you have the original printing, this is Paramount Pictures, and then the movie starts. It's not a Disney exclusive film. Disney came in and bought up something while it was in, it was on the rise. They took Star Wars when it had basically flatlined, where it sell merchandise, it had a TV show, it was doing its own thing. They took what worked, killed it, and then they go and create something new that initially got the hype, and then they don't.
Yeah. So, really, screw you, Disney.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's all I got. Just Disney, leave stuff alone. Go make your mouse movies and your live-action remakes of your cartoons that you drew, and just stop trying to change the world through, Star Wars and Marvel.
Yeah. For them, Marvel, the weird thing is they're both towards the end. And people are like, how do you know this? You can just feel it in the air. With the Avengers, people are, you're hyped for the new trailer. I like it more than I initially did. I honestly, it's not that I'm worried about reactions to what people think of my thoughts. I was dead tired, and I had really no energy to do that show on Friday. I get to it yesterday as I'm watching Infinity War and stuff, and I go, okay, the feeling's there. Get me to April. I'm ready. Actually, get me to April for Star Wars Celebration. I'm more excited for that. But
yes,
that's another topic. I mean, there's a difference between a movie and then getting to meet 1,000 people that listen to your channel. That's the exciting part.
Yes, that is. Oh yeah, I woke up. I watched the trailer. I've probably watched it a dozen times since then. I didn't watch the trailer thinking, oh man, they didn't really give you anything, and they didn't really blah 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 blah. Well, they don't need to give us anything. We just need to know what the hell's going on right now, because we know where it was at. We know what happened. We just need to know what about this, what's going to, set the stage for this movie. And I think they have with that trailer. Yeah, there'll be another trailer. I mean, that's not the only one we're going to get. We're going to get another one. And it's going to show us a little bit more. But right now, it did exactly what it was supposed to do. It told us where we're at, and it gave us a little bit of a hint of where it might be going. And it got everybody. The idea is just to build interest and hype in this movie, which already probably had tons of interest and hype to begin with. And then I've watched Infinity War again since then. I had my nephew the other night, and I was like, "Hey, did you see the new Avengers trailer yet?" No. All right, well, here you go. I let him watch it, and then I picked him up, took him back to the house because he had to stay the night with me because my sister was working. And we got to the house. I was like, all right, do you want to play a video game? You want to watch a movie? What are you going to do? Because I got to do some stuff around the house, and I'm going to get ready to go to bed because I got work. He's like, I want to watch Infinity War. I was like, okay. So I put it on for him. Smart kid loves Infinity War.
It really, it captures the imagination, and it's like other good Marvel movies where the more you watch it, there are different little things you pick up on. Especially with Thanos. For a CGI character, he's got a lot of depth. I mean, he's just a digital rendering and a voice actor, but he's damn good. I really, really do buy into that.
He's cool as hell.
Now, what do you think, or where do you think the new Avengers movie starts? Do you think it starts right after the events, or a year or two? We got a couple people in the chat asking that.
I'm not 100% sure, only because there was two things in the trailer that kind of threw it off. So with Iron Man floating in space, having run out of food and water and oxygen running out, it's like how soon, because you got to figure he probably tried to get off Titan as soon as possible. And then it's like, how much food and water did he have to begin with? How much oxygen did he have to begin with? We don't know. So this is probably happening shortly after the events of the movie. But then you've got the part where Black Widow and Cap are sitting there, and they got the screen in the background showing who's missing, who's presumed dead and all that stuff. So it's like, okay, so there has to have been some passage of time because they're having to get all this information together, and they can't just get that immediately. The only thing they would know is like what happened in the immediacy of where they were located in Wakanda at the time. And then, Ant-Man showing up at the end. It's like, okay, well, he had to have gotten out of the quantum realm. Spoilers for anybody that hasn't seen Ant-Man and the Wasp yet. So it's kind of all over the place. There's like, and Thanos has got his spoppy farm, as I referred to it the other day. It's like, well, that stuff doesn't grow that quickly. Maybe it does in space. We don't know. So I know they were talking, it'd be 5 years after the events of Infinity War. It's like, well, that seems like a really huge passage of time between the two movies. So I really don't know. I want to say it's not the next day and it's not the next week. It's probably, I would say, anywhere between a few months to maybe a year at most.
That'll probably be it. I want to just see for 1 minute. I want to see everyone on Earth disappear, and I want to see like a plane crash, or I want to see like, I don't know, a construction worker in the middle of something and then a crane goes, you know what I'm saying? And like all these things happen. And to see, because I think that would really set the tone. Instead of being like, all these terrible things happen. Oh, it's a Marvel movie. I'm used to like big destruction. Can you show me that? Like, oh, no. It happened. Don't worry. Captain America shaving his beard. That's what you got to see. I don't want that. I want, like, I'm okay with a time jump after like maybe like a recap, like a previously on X-Men type of thing. We see that, then we see the aftermath, and then it goes like, and like, I don't know, like the building falls, something happens, and then it like turns to black, and then it'll go 1 year later, and then we move into the story.
Yeah, agreed completely. Because they should. So when Infinity War opened up, there was the ominous music and the distress calls from the spaceship or the Asgardian ship and everything like that. So we know that the tone is being set. Thanos is here. He's wrecking that ship. He's killing the Asgardians. He's taking the Tesseract. So we need to have a scene, something similar to that, like showing Earth. And, you could show other planets too, but Earth is something we'd obviously relate to the most. Just where people are just disappearing. Like, there's a bus driving down the road and suddenly it veers off and crashes into a building. And think if you've ever played Modern Warfare 2.
I have.
This part where they launch the nuke, and the EMP goes off, and then it transports you down to the ground, and suddenly all the power starts going out, and planes are falling and things like that. And the entire for that 10 minutes of the game where you're on that mission is just complete chaos. As stuff is just like falling from the sky and like blowing up around you. It should be something like that. Like you said, there's a crane operating, and all of a sudden, the beam that it's carrying just lets loose because the person that was operating it disappeared. Now it crashes through some transformers, and a plane that was flying suddenly no, because they would have autopilot. Somebody's taking a plane off, and it just it starts taking off, but then the pilot disappears, so he has no control, and it just boom right into like the landscape or something like that, and just cars just flying off the road. Just chaos, because suddenly what was 6 billion people, almost 7 billion operating a planet is now half. Instantly, what kind of chaos and crazy things would take place? People on the phone with each other, and then suddenly the line goes dead on the other end. It's not dead, but there's like, hey, are you there? Hey, hello? Because that person's like just disappeared while being on the phone.
I wish they had the nerve to have two people banging, and then the guy just disappears like.
She's like, that'd be funny. Didn't even finish before running out on me.
I didn't even finish existing.
Yeah. Professor teaching a class, and he's like writing on the board, and he turns around, and suddenly half of them are gone, and you just see dust flying. It's like, damn, tuition just went up.
I think the most exciting element of Endgame is the post-credit sequence.
Yeah,
And
because what are they setting up? Everything's been setting up what's going to come next. Well, what comes next after Endgame?
yeah, this is it. Don't
Yeah,
get
it's the
scared. This is what
Endgame.
we've been waiting for literally a decade. How
Mm-hmm.
it all comes to an end. It's going to be, commencement, the ending of one thing, the beginning of another. The Infinity Stone storyline is over. It all built up, starting with Iron Man to build the Avengers, the Tesseract, all that stuff. And it's been excellent. It's been a great, fun ride for the most part. You've had a couple, weak elements like Spider-Man: Homecoming, but most of all, you've had a great ride.
Oh,
Now we're moving towards, the ride's over. Time to walk around the amusement park and get onto another roller coaster. It's really exciting. It's really scary. But as a fan of all this stuff, I want, in a perfect world, they hook me for another 10 years. By the time then, I'll have kids and they'll get into it, and then it'll be a whole thing. Like that guy that came up to me at Horror Hound that wanted, I'll tell you about him later. He didn't get to talk to me as much as he wanted to, but he's a great guy. And him and his kids are invested in this shit since, most of their lives. That's a fun thing. It's a multi-generational thing. I just hope Marvel doesn't, go the route of Star Wars to turn off this generation, and then we have, more Last Jedis.
the post-credit sequence will be them showing a reboot of Iron Man, but starring like Riri Williams or something like that.
I will vomit blood.
I will stand up and I will throw a brick. I will take, I'm gonna make absolutely sure that I have a brick. I've got several bricks out back from when they were building the house. Still there 40 years later. I will grab one of those bricks and I will put it in I'll wear a hoodie and I'll take it in the movie. And if the post-credit sequence shows that they're rebooting any of the characters, essentially they're going to do the entire 21 movie run again, but with new characters or new people playing the same characters. I will stand up and I will fire a brick right at the screen because I don't care if I get ejected from that movie theater. There's a bunch of movie theaters around here. I'll just go to a different one.
Yeah. Where you live, you're kind of nondescript. It was a white guy with glasses. Oh,
yeah, there's a lot of those around here.
Yeah, most of them are.
Yeah.
Kevithar1138, thank you very much. I'm calling it now. All of that is a setup for Pepper Potts to arrive just in time with her new suit to tell Tony, I'm your rescue. That's cringeworthy right there.
Yeah, because the theory I've heard, and I've had friends that have spoken to me since then, they're like, so how do you think Tony's going to get out? I was like, well, I kind of figured Nebula would put him on a ship because she showed up in one and she'd be like, all right, we got to go back to Earth. But clearly that's not happening. He's like, I think Captain Marvel will save her. And I'm like, save him. I'm like, that's probably the most logical thing would be her, going to save him. But yeah, that's the first time I've heard Pepper Potts showing up to save him. I mean, that would lose me some points right there. I mean, we know she's done stuff before. And what was it, Iron Man 3?
Oh, yeah, with the Extremis.
Yeah, so she's done things. She showed that she's not just eye candy for Tony and not just his secretary or administrative assistant, in the parlance of our times. But if she's like, I gotta go save Tony, and she gets in like an Iron Man suit and flies off to wherever the hell space he's in and saves him, I'm gonna be like, damn it, space lay all over again.
I feel like that'll be. She gets the armor. There's pictures of Gwyneth Paltrow in purple armor. There are toys of Rescue. We know that the Avengers are going to wear spacesuits. That's one thing I haven't really talked about or thought of since the trailer came out. There are images of this stuff out there. So, yeah, I guess. I don't know. I guess they're going into the quantum realm to time travel. There's pieces. I'm waiting for a channel to actually put together all the little things in the proper order.
Yeah,
because that would be there's a lot already that we know about this movie and that we can infer from the information that's out there. But one thing I wanted to bring up that I forgot to earlier when I was talking about Aquaman is Aquaman and Venom are two movies that have been hits that people didn't expect out, internationally.
Mm-hmm.
And studios look, at the worldwide box office. People want to say, well, The Last Jedi or Force Awakens made $2 billion. Yes, 900 million was made here. The other 1.1 billion was made elsewhere. So Disney has to look at where, or companies have to look at where the money comes from. And I think, and I've said this before, and I'll throw this against you, Sony is emboldened to take back Spider-Man because they're going to have Venom come out. Venom came out and was a hit. It almost made $1 billion worldwide. It's like 800 something million worldwide. Into the Spider-Verse seems to be getting a lot of buzz. Fuck that movie. I have no interest in it.
Nope.
But if those two movies make a bunch of bank without Disney, I don't expect to see too many more Spider-Man movies in the MCU. I wouldn't be surprised to see him taken back and then a continuation with this Venom verse.
Yeah, because there's endless possibilities there. That's the thing is, it's kind of, when it comes to this type of, essentially it's like there needs to be competition, and if Sony can viably be competition with their own Spider-Man stuff to Disney, then yeah, that's a good thing. That could lead to some good things. I know they tried to do that with the Amazing 1 and 2, and that was a miserable failure, and probably led to Spider-Man ending up in the MCU. It would be, with Venom doing well, if Sony pulls him back and says, hey, we're going to do our own Spider-Man shit, we own it. As long as it's good, I'm all for it. Because they can do an entire Spider-Man, cinematic universe on their own because of the countless amount of material there is. I mean, there's tons of different villains he can go up against. With Venom, there's always the story arcs that they can pull off of that, where he could be fighting somebody else and Venom just shows up like he does randomly in the comics a lot of times and just whoops his ass. And then you can always do the things with Carnage. From what I understand, that's supposed to be Woody Harrelson. I'm not exactly a fan of that, even though I've got nothing against the Woodman. He doesn't strike me as a Carnage.
No, he's too old.
Yeah, it's like Carnage is supposed to be this really pissed off dude that's like Eddie Brock's age. Because I'm pretty sure they met in prison. Yeah. It's been a long time since I read that book. I've got it.
They did meet in prison.
That's right. Yeah, because I was going to say, I've got the whole Maximum Carnage story arc thing in my box. It's one of the few Spider-Man comics I kept. And, there's plenty of stuff that they could do with that. So, Sony, if you're listening, you're not. But if you are, number one, don't let Amy Pascal handle this. Number two.
She was fired for a reason.
Oh, yeah. Number two, don't make the same mistakes you made with Amazing 1 and 2. Make it Spider-Man like you did with the first Spider-Man movies. First two Spider-Man movies, do it in the similar. I mean, you don't have to go get Sam Raimi, but make them good. Don't fuck this up.
Well, I think those three Spider-Man movies, 3, Amazing 1 and 2, are like the prime example of excess. And I'm trying to think I guess excess is the best way to do it. The thing is, Spider-Man originally was making its own mark with number 1 and 2. Number 3 became a desire for Avi Arad to symbiotes, Venom. Look at Avi Arad. 11 years later, you got what you wanted, and it worked 11 years later, but you killed a really profitable franchise. When it comes to the other two, it was in the wake of The Dark Knight, and they were trying to copy what works. Sony is a studio that never really has anything original. It's just remakes, reboots, reimaginings. They buy up all they're like the Kmart Disney. They buy up all these properties to make remakes and reimaginings of. They don't really own the biggest things, but they do that constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, they gave us the glory that was Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Spider-Man 3 had so much promise, but I think there was a couple things working against that. One, the desire to cram as much shit in there as possible. And I know they were wanting Toby for more Spider-Man movies, but he was like, I'm tapping out at 3. I'm not doing any more. And so I feel like they had to rush to the end of that story arc is faster than what they wanted to do.
Well, no, what happened with Spider-Man 4 was they were going to make it with Sam Raimi, and everybody was on board. Sony wanted it out in 2011. Sam Raimi said, I need till 2012. So Sony said, we're just canceling it. We're going to reboot it. And then the movie came out in 2012 anyway. So had they been patient, they could have had Sam Raimi Spider-Man 4 in 2012, and then we would have had Sam Raimi Spider-Man in Avengers type of thing. So they could have had a much longer end game, and we could have had a Spider-Man that was built upon his own steam and less than Tony Stark controls or creates the Marvel Universe type of thing.
I got you. Yeah, because the last I'd ever known of any of that stuff, it had to do with they were wanting to make 6 of them, and Toby was only down for 3. I don't.
I would have loved 6 Spider-Man movies with Sam Raimi and Tobey Maguire.
Yeah, because the third one would have been completely different because they wouldn't have felt the need to, rush Venom out there, especially with goddamn Topher Grace. You were
It was
talking
the early
earlier.
2000s, but it's
Yeah, I
still
was gonna
shit.
say. You were talking about earlier about people seeing their favorite characters totally bastardized and destroyed on screen. That was my time to shine on that one because I love I know you're not a big fan of Venom, and that's fine. I love Venom just because of all the endless possibilities you could do with him and where he comes from and all that good stuff. But they never get Venom right whenever they try to portray him on screen. At least they didn't at that time. And there was a lot of other times I've seen stuff with Venom, and it's just they'd never get it right. There's so much you got to do with it to get it to where it needs to be. And that movie, I know that as soon as I heard Venom's going to be in Spider-Man 3, okay, cool. Topher Grace is playing Venom. God damn it. The dorky kid from that 70s show is supposed to be Venom. This is already not believable. So I was already going in not happy with where it was going to go. And then you get him for like 20 minutes, and then he gets killed because Spider-Man bangs on some poles and Firebomb. There was a reason why I was asked to leave that movie theater. And I had to be the girlfriend I had at the time was like, pulling me by the sleeve saying, come on, you got to go, while I was vehemently like angry, cussing at the credits.
I don't blame you, dude. I
was not happy. Not happy at all. And then not to mention all the other bullshit in the movie with the emo Spidey and, Bryce Dallas Howard not looking as good as she could as Gwen. And I just don't even.
Yeah, she was an odd choice, but,
we don't need Good Morning Pop Culture to go on for another hour of me
about Spider-Man.
Of me just throwing a bitch fit about Spider-Man 3.
Well, don't worry. There's going to be we have that weekend stream coming up on Friday night, so we'll be covering Spider-Man 1 and 2. I just think if you do 3, if you rebook it, wrestling phrases, what you do is you go and you end the trilogy with the Osborn arc. Norman dies in 1, Harry gets bent on vengeance in 2, and then ultimately dies a hero in part 3. Maybe you do need a secondary villain in that film, but you don't need 3 villains in that movie. What you needed was a Sandman type, and then you have the Green Goblin, and that storyline can build behind the scenes. There are problems with the movie, lots of problems, especially Mary Jane's self-obsessed nature. Like in that movie, I understand where she's coming from to a degree, but Spider-Man or Peter Parker's trying to relate with her or relate to her, and he makes analogies, and she just flips out. She's very selfish in that movie. There are problems with it overall. We'll talk about that at greater detail at another time. It's one of the most disappointing movies too, because the trilogy goes out on such a note.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been so awesome to see 6 movies because we had a good Green Goblin, a great Dr. Octopus, and then I thought James Franco did a fine job with his Harry Osborn. I always liked him because he's a rich, spoiled brat. Eventually turns to drugs, eventually gets some kind of weird disease, gets sent off to Europe to be healed.
Lupus? Was it lupus?
It's always lupus. So
does not like
we'll talk about that at a later date.
It actually gave me an idea. So I know. Okay, so Friday we're going to do Spider-Man 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know we had briefly you just mentioned it to me the other day because you're like, I know you're working Friday, but I didn't know if we were just doing Spider-Man 2 or what. I mean, are you guys going to do 1 before I get in?
I was thinking that because if you get off, you'll be available at what, 11?
10:30ish.
Well, 10:30ish. Okay, well, if I started it at 8, by the time the movie's over, we could have a little bit of a discussion. That'll give you ample time to get home, and we can do this.
Okay, cool. Because what I just thought of, because you mentioned, rebooking Spider-Man 3. What if one day we sit down and we rebook 3 through 6 and give what we would think would be the best story arc for, Spider-Man 3 through 6 and actors and all that stuff and year date? It would be kind of fun to fantasy book that series, since it's never going to happen.
We should. Maybe
that'll be a special edition one day. We can sit down and do this.
I like that idea.
I think on it.
Ooh, because Dion and I once got drunk and rewrote Spider-Man 4, or we wrote Spider-Man 4. Yeah, my villain was the Shocker. So
okay, Yeah.
That was my choice.
Hobgoblin's got to show up at some point.
He does. Jason, well, what's his name? There's different hobgoblins.
Jason Lee. You're going to make Jason Lee play the
Jason
goblin.
Lee's I don't think Jason Lee as the hobgoblin would be a terrible choice. Maybe Jason Lee as Ned Leeds, the fake hobgoblin who's married to Betty Brant.
That could work.
Actually could have worked. Jason Lee is a great actor. Well, can be a great actor.
When he wants to, when he's motivated to do so, he can be. Yeah, you know what? There are worse choices than Jason Lee as Hobgoblin.
Yeah. There are better choices too, but shit, Chasing Amy's Jason Lee is the Hobgoblin in Spider-Man 4. You know what though? I would wait till Spider-Man 5 or 6 to have the Hobgoblin because that would be another goblin, and I'd be like, oh, another goblin, and I wouldn't have a flying.
Goddamn goblins are there?
I know, right? Motherfucker.
Goddamn, he's a heel. We'll get Rhino to play Rhino.
Yeah, that dude, perfect. He's got fired from the WWE. Why not?
I don't think it's a shoot fire. I think it's a work fired.
Oh, okay. I was not aware of that, dude. I don't watch wrestling anymore.
Oh, I don't either. I just listen to the podcasts that I've mentioned to you in the past about that. That's how I keep up with what's going on with wrestling. Then I got my buddy who messages, like live tweets me through DMs going on with what's happening on Raw and SmackDown and the pay-per-view. So I get all my information without actually having to sit down and let my brain melt watching the product.
Yeah, I'm gonna go enjoy TLC. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see what happens on Sunday. I got channel work to do.
Right.
So I think that's a good way to close out this stream. So Kendo, thanks again for joining me for Good Morning Pop Culture.
Anytime.
It's been fun. I kind of like having somebody. It's a weird way to close out the year, to change it up, to help me recharge my batteries and have a conversation. Because, I need it. The people need it.
Everyone needs it.
You're the people's partner, jabroni.
I'm the people's relief pitcher.
You are. Help us, Kendo. Slice your only hope.
Yeah, Jeff starts the show, and towards the latter party, manager has to come out, tap his wrist, ask for the ball, and Eric come running in from the bullpen. I'm like Wild Thing Vaughn from Major League.
Yeah,
there's a Charlie Sheen reference for you, Trent.
Yeah, he is just Trent just finished himself off at work. So.
Oh yeah, he's giving it up.
I know, right? So if you just joined us, sorry. We start every morning at 7:45 a.m., close out around 10. So today is no different. So this has been Good Morning Pop Culture. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode, and I'll also be back tomorrow with video. I'm going to go start working on, well, not start. I'm going to go continue to work on that in a few moments after a quick little break and figure out what happened with all my electricity in this room. It's weird, Kendo. My light's on. So I didn't blow a fuse directly to this room, but I guess the outlet blew or something. That's a possibility, right?
Yeah, or the breaker, because sometimes rooms, the way they wire them, they're not all on one circuit. So, the light might be on a different circuit than the plug that you're using and stuff like that. So I would go check the breaker box, see if there's anything thrown. I'll
go do that first before I go trying to figure out what's up, because it's weird. I got a space heater blowing in from the hallway, but the one in here, because our furnace works. My God, does it suck? Old houses, man.
Yeah.
You get that shit tuned up.
Yeah, dude. Just go check that breaker box out and see if there's any switches thrown, and that should do you. If not, then check the fuses. There could be a number of things wrong.
Yeah, well, this old house sucks ass. So, folks, catch me later. I will be back tomorrow with more. So thank you for watching and have a good one.